spot. We've got Dan O'Donnell in the studio, Ben Yount in the studio, and Vicki McKenna, because there's a major announcement we've been teasing for 2 days.
When Mr. Belling decided to take his program and make it podcast only, obviously that means that we're going to have to make some adjustments.
The next generation is here.
In Afternoon Drive, it will be the Dan O'Donnell Show from 3 to 6.
Welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
I can't lie, I've been waiting all day for this, and in an even truer sense, I've been waiting my whole life for this. I am Dan O'Donnell, and welcome to the next chapter of broadcast excellence. Let's be totally honest with ourselves. Broadcast competence. This is the first day of the new lineup on both WISN and WIBA. I got to tune in to the very first Ben Yount show on WIBA. Vicki McKenna in her new slot from 9 to 11. And folks, I am more acutely aware than probably anyone listening of the legacy that I inherit of just what this time slot, what this show means, what it has meant for the past 35 years to you, to us, to me personally. I will endeavor each and every day to uphold that legacy of true broadcast excellence from a true broadcast pioneer. Fear not, Mark Belling has not retired. He will return in podcast form coming up on May 1st. For the next 3 hours, though, it is the debut of the afternoon edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show. If you would like to join us, 414-799-1130. That is our AdventKnows.com talk and text line. You can reach me toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me directly, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, where, yes, we have the Dano Cam on. People have been asking since the move was announced, are you still going to be live streaming on social media? I sure will. On X, on Facebook, at Dan O'Donnell Show there, and on our YouTube channel. Just search for Dan O'Donnell Show. The podcast stays the exact same, only it moves to 3 hours. Well, 3 hours minus commercials, which, given the number of commercials on WISN and WIBA, means you will hear about 15 minutes of actual program content. Now, what I love to do, and what I love to do the past 2 years, filling in for Mark when he took his winter sabbatical from January until May, is really get our listeners involved. We don't always take a ton of phone calls here, and I appreciate you making our producer, Paul, who, yes, I have inherited from Mark. Paul is alive and well. No, you will never hear his voice on this station. People ask, did Paul want to talk? Did he want to talk in the Belling Show? Are you going to allow Paul to talk? I actually asked Paul, would you finally like to allow the audience to hear your voice? He immediately said, no. Absolutely not. Keep it the same. I agree. You've got a terrible voice that's not fit for radio. I'm kidding. You can hear Paul pretty much all Saturday and Sunday. He is WISN's program schedule on the weekend. So if you ever want to hear what Paul sounds like, just tune in on Saturday. No, I love getting the audience involved because while we do talk about a ton of serious topics, and while I'm not going to lay out the mission statement of this show because it's the exact same as it was from 9 to 11, just 3 hours longer, and now I've had time to get a couple of cocktails in me. I'm kidding, of course. Management is probably even more nervous than they already were, but this is where you come in. I love to do serious topics. I'm an investigative reporter, just like Mark. I love to have fun, though, just like Mark. In the spirit of that, in lieu of people wishing me congratulations and good luck, I want to know this from you, our dear listeners, as we weave through the serious stories of the day, and there is none more serious, of course, than the terror attack in New Orleans, as well as the explosion that killed someone and injured several more just outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. We will cover that from every single angle possible, as well as a big election coming up that nobody, I fear, is even paying attention on. But might have just as much impact, at least here in Wisconsin, as, dare I say, not the presidential race, but certainly congressional and Senate races. The race for the Supreme Court, we will discuss that. And Joe Biden has just 18 days left in office. Who am I kidding? He's been checked out pretty much since the spring of 2021. But with just 18 days left, you won't believe who he gave one of the nation's highest civilian honors to. All that and much, much more on the debut afternoon edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show. But I want to get you folks involved. I want to showcase not my creativity, but yours. That's why what we do, and we've always had fun doing. Producer Paul has no idea where we're going with this, but that's good. The surprise is fantastic. What I want you to text me, not good luck, not congratulations on the new time slot, not anything like that. I want you to be as creative as possible and text in the adventknows.com talk and text line, again, 414-799-1130, with your best guesses as to the one thing I could say today that would make management say, we've made a terrible mistake. What is the one thing I could say that would get me right back to middays? Have some fun with it. As always, we will read your best, funniest responses on the air throughout the show today. New Year's Day was unfortunately a deadly one, where the specter of terrorism raised its ugly head yet again. A decade after we thought that the last vestiges of ISIS might have been defeated, about 7 years after the last vestiges of ISIS actually were under the first Trump administration, an ISIS-inspired terror attack kills 15 people, injures a dozen more in something that was unfortunately shockingly familiar to those of us in southeast Wisconsin who lived through what I consider to be another terror attack, the Waukesha Parade Massacre. It was almost the exact same scenario. Unfortunately, though, because New Orleans on New Year's Eve was even more densely packed than that parade route was, more people were killed, more people were injured. The suspect, who the FBI now does believe acted alone, got out and almost immediately opened fire with responding police officers. There are far more questions than answers, including, did the suspect really act alone? And for those maybe listening to me for the first time and wondering why I'm not going to name or identify the suspect, this is intentional. Once said suspect is identified, if he is a spree killer, a serial killer, a terrorist, someone whose at least partial motivation is notoriety, I will not give in, and I will not give them what they want. His name will never, ever be uttered on this show unless there's some reason to, for example, if he was alive, criminal charges, something like that. I'm just not going to do it. I will refer to him as the terrorist. I will refer to him as the suspect. It is unfortunate, but it is a reality that while ISIS, while the Islamic Jihad as an organization, while al-Qaeda and then al-Qaeda in Iraq, its successor organization, have been largely defeated as terror cells or standing guerrilla armies that could do damage on U.S. military personnel and installations across the Middle East, have been defeated and have been defeated for quite some time. The far more significant threat to the American homeland is and has always been this sort of small scale, and I don't mean to diminish what happened on New Year's Eve, but this sort of lone wolf or small group of people ISIS-inspired attack. What we did learn today from the FBI's deputy director Christopher Raya, is that this suspect, in contrast to what was initially reported, that he came across, or at least the truck came across from Mexico a couple of days ago, he was born and raised in Houston, Texas. He rented the truck off of an app. I'll admit, I'm pretty technologically savvy. I had no idea this app existed. Turo. It's perhaps just a sad coincidence that both the truck that was used to ram into people in New Orleans and the cyber truck that exploded in front of the Trump Hotel were rented from this same app, Turo. But it was rented in Houston, Texas. The suspect decided that he was going to drive to the New Year's Eve celebrations, second only to Mardi Gras, and getting as many people packed together as possible on the streets of New Orleans and do maximum damage. Christopher Raya, about 2 hours ago.
Investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th. He then drove from Houston to New Orleans on the evening of the 31st, and he posted several videos to an online platform proclaiming his support for ISIS. There were 5 videos posted on Jabbar's Facebook account, which are time-stamped beginning at 1:29 a.m. and the last at 3:02 a.m. In the first video, Jabbar explains he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers, end quote.
This is textbook Islamic Jihad, not the Islamic Jihad group, but the concept of holy war, i.e. jihad, that many of these radicals have simply never stopped fighting. It is a widespread belief, and tragically, the idea that somehow enemies of Islam are enemies of the human race and must be eradicated has gotten a little bit more widespread on the American left than any of us would be comfortable with. Now, that may seem like a controversial proposition until you consider that last night you had thousands of people marching through the streets of New York in support of the Palestinian territories. Do you think it was a coincidence that this just happened, that so many people showed up? Look, New York City a week ago, they tried protesting for Black Lives Matter. You would think that Black Lives Matter in New York, this would be the apex of where you could get a big crowd together. They had about a dozen of them protesting against the death of a black man that they claim was unjust. You had thousands of people in support of the Palestinians, in support of Hamas, protests that, by the way, did not start until exactly October 8th, 2023, the day after the worst terror attack in the history of Israel. Now that same sort of terror, not nearly as meticulously planned, and certainly, at least it doesn't seem, to be the product of a state actor like Iran working through one of its proxies like Hamas, that same terror has now come to the United States. And you have the exact same people marching, not in support of death, not in support of terrorism, not in support of any sort of thing that those evil right-wingers will accuse us of glorifying and celebrating, but because people who could have no more and take no more are fighting back. The Palestinians are oppressed. ISIS operated under that same ideology, that Western imperialism was a threat to Islam and therefore, in their eyes, the global order, their preferred global order. Ergo, anything done in service to jihad was perfectly fine, including terrorism. Are we sensing a theme here where the ends sort of justify the means? We didn't just have that terror attack. We also had an attack that just happened to be outside of a Trump hotel in Las Vegas that just happened to involve an exploding cyber truck, the vehicle produced most famously by Trump's new BFF, Elon Musk. What we know about that terrorist, who was not an Islamic jihadist, but was someone who, according to social media posts, was just like the would-be Trump assassin Ryan Routh, the second one who laid in wait for Trump outside of one of his golf courses and tried to pick him off as he was playing a Sunday morning round of golf, was obsessed with this idea that somehow Ukraine and thus the global order, as he sees it, would fall to Russia's aggression. He hated Trump, even though at one point he might have been a Republican. His wife, according to her social media posts, clearly is not. She despises Trump. And just like Ryan Routh, this terrorist, apparently a current Green Beret, decided to act. Decided to potentially prevent or at least make a scene that would demonstrate his opposition to what he supposes Trump is going to do with respect to potentially cutting off Ukraine funding or allowing the Ukrainian military to fall, or whatever paranoid fever dream that he thinks is going on in his head. So according to him, this act of terror was justified because the people of Ukraine, and thus the people of the world, need to have attention drawn to this. This is the same mentality that a couple of weeks ago underpinned a lone gunman who laid in wait outside of a hotel in Manhattan to gun down the CEO of United Healthcare. Why? Because he was so upset that United Healthcare, under Brian Thompson's direction, had denied claims, thus causing the deaths of thousands and thousands and thousands of people for the past 3 to 4 weeks. That gunman, Luigi Mangione, has been a hero to the left. He's seen as something of a murderous Robin Hood figure, getting a modicum of revenge against the CEO class that victimizes people. Again, the ends justify even violent means. One of the hottest selling Christmas gifts this season was a Nintendo Luigi winter hat. Not because everybody was playing the new Super Mario game, but because so many far-left radicals wanted to show their support for a domestic terrorist. All the while, we had an FBI that was apparently clueless about all of this stuff. Luigi Mangione, the United Healthcare killer, is excusable. Even though it was clear he went off the deep end, he isn't somebody who would necessarily be on investigators' radar. Even the guy in Las Vegas might not necessarily be somebody that would be considered to be a big threat. But you'd better believe someone who meticulously planned a truck ramming attack, which, by the way, has been happening with increasing regularity. There was just one in Europe right before Christmas at a Christmas market, following the very famous one about 8 years before that. I think there was clear inspiration taken from that for the New Year's Eve attack. It is inexcusable that this guy was not on anyone's radar and that Americans were left helpless because America's investigative agencies, starting from the very top, were turning the other way. Now, why do you suppose that could be? Sure, ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Islamic Jihad, they're long since defeated, replaced in prominence across the Middle East by new terror groups, or ones that had always existed but rose to prominence following the October 7th attack, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the like. Why were they allowed to operate essentially with impunity? Why were there no eyes on this guy, Jabbar? Could it be because the entire investigative and surveillance apparatus of the United States wasn't focused on Islamist terrorism, wasn't focused on the very real specter of left-wing radical terrorism coming from groups like Antifa or Black Lives Matter, but rather on you? Rather on right-wing domestic extremism that since the moment he took office, almost exactly 4 years ago, when Joe Biden outlined it in his inaugural address, he has repeatedly stressed, and his investigative agencies have acted accordingly, that the single greatest threat, the single great, far more than Islamist terrorism, was you. Was white supremacists just like you supposedly are. We put together a montage here on the Dan O'Donnell Show of 4 straight years of alleged President Biden saying just that.
Terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacy. The most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
Domestic terrorism rooted in white supremacy is the greatest terrorist threat we face in the homeland.
And we won't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism.
Now, if you believe that, and I mean if you truly believe that, what would you do? Would you focus all of your investigative agency's attention on the would-be white supremacists? Would you, I don't know, try to stop the one man who most riled them up, who most inspired them, who most militarized them, just like he did on January 6th, 4 years ago? Would you use all of the investigative and all of the prosecutorial might of the United States government and aim it squarely at the guy who just happened to probably be running against you in the 2024 election? That's exactly what happened. And we will get in to all of the failures that led us to this point. Folks, I sure hope you're having as much fun as I am. I am Dan O'Donnell. We'll be right back after this.
I'm defense attorney Tom Grieve. Never drive drunk. If you do, don't believe police officers who tell you it's just a ticket and a 6-month suspension. Pay it and put this behind you. You'll likely have to install an ignition interlock device to blow into before starting your car. Protects the public and shames you with your friends and family. Your license will be revoked. You can go to jail for 1 year if caught driving revoked. Even if you swear you did never drive revoked, most people do. With a to and from work permit, one snowstorm, long meeting, or traffic jam, and you're driving revoked. An officer runs your plate while driving, and you're in even more serious trouble. You'll participate in alcohol and drug assessments, a driver's safety plan, and alcohol classes. You could even lose your job. Prosecutors will tenaciously prosecute you without empathy, regardless of your clean driving record. Your first DUI conviction never disappears from your record. Just a ticket and 6-month suspension, and a Scarlet A for life. Charged with an OWI, your best chance is to call my team of award-winning former state prosecutors. You are only guilty if you are convicted. GrieveLaw.com.
This is Michael Lynch from Lynch Truck Center. For the first time ever, Lynch Truck Center is having a massive construction sale on over 400 in-stock trucks, which include Chevrolet, GMC, Hino, and Isuzu. You will not want to miss it. We're adding parking, 7 more truck bays, and expanded parts storage, so we can better serve you, our customer. Did you know our experienced sales staff sold more Chevrolet medium-duty trucks and cab overs than all the other dealers in the state combined? With their knowledge on upfits, combined with our service department, we deliver turnkey vehicles for your business, including the right body for your application, bin packages, and even lettered when it's delivered right to your door. As a business owner, has managing your fleet grown into a full-time job? Our fleet department can help. We provide a free fleet analysis which guides you when to trade, help track expenses for maintenance, fuel, and even vehicle tracking. You'll be shocked on the money and time you can save, not to mention having new vehicles under warranty. Visit lynchtruckcenter.com and give us a shot. We won't disappoint you.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text SPARK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 42424. That's SPARK to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I'm board-certified plastic surgeon Michelle Boness. At my Brookfield MediSpa, getting rid of stubborn, resistant to diet and exercise exercise fat deposits doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg, and doesn't have to come with the risk of potentially health-altering injectable pharmaceuticals. As a board-certified plastic surgeon, I perform cosmetic procedures, including liposuction 360. During liposuction, I don't count the number of passes I make on fatty deposits. I continue until achieving positive body transformational results. While most cool sculpting vendors charge per cycle, Boness Body and Face MediSpa charge one value price regardless of cycles required for aesthetically pleasing fat reduction. Next, CoolTone's electromagnetic energy is precisely applied to small, weak, hard to isolate with exercise muscles, causing rapid muscle contractions, strengthening, and toning. Unlike injectable fat reduction drugs, side effects of CoolTone are stronger sculpted buttocks, ab, and thigh muscles. Good for long-term health and looks. Your body, your life. Love it. drboness.com.
Slipping on the ice?
Ugh.
Someone else shoveling your driveway.
Ah.
Cold feet?
Ugh.
Toasty tootsies.
Ah.
Waking up to a cold house?
Ugh.
With no warm air coming from the register.
Ugh.
And discovering your antiquated furnace is DOA.
Ugh.
But now, this is you learning that Mr. Holland's Home Services can install a new, fully warranted, highly efficient comfort system.
Ah.
Better yet, you can enjoy consistent, cozy comfort with payments as low as $79 a month with approved credit.
Ah.
Because you deserve it.
Ah.
If your failing furnace is showing signs of old age, be proactive. Call Mr. Holland's Home Services to schedule the installation of your brand new, fully functional comfort system for a low monthly rate. And take your winter from
Ugh.
to 866-992-1717. Or visit MrHollandsHomeservices.com. Ready to put some thaw in your we can help.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Conservative thought. Not just talk. This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
It is what we do each and every day. Now, just a little bit later in the day, the very first afternoon drive edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show right now. And we want to know from you, ladies and gentlemen, via text on the adventknows.com talk and text line. What is the one thing I could say today that would get my rear end moved right back to middays? And have them panic call belling. Hey, can you just give up on the podcast? We're really in a bind here. What one thing could I say? Loyal listener and one of my best friends in the entire world, Brandon, says, it's simple. 2 words. Kamala 2028. Here's another good one. Don't dead name me by calling me Dan. I'm Danielle now, and my pronouns are they, them. How did you guys know? I hereby endorse Tony Evers for governor, or my personal favorite, just call me Charlie Sykes Jr. Oh, that one hits a little bit too close to home. When I was a very, very young broadcaster, Charlie actually said that he wanted me to fill in for him. And ever since, I know, a lot of people in this audience, in my audience, in pretty much every conservative audience have had issues with Charlie. He was always nothing but kind and gracious to me, so I always said I would be nothing but kind and gracious to him. My listeners, though, you folks are a completely different story. Now, people have been asking me, Dan, with the new move, are you still going to do the things that you did in the morning? Yes. In fact, coming up in about 15 minutes or so, it will be the unhinged liberal of the day. Each and every day on the Dan O'Donnell Show, we like to highlight the one left-winger who goes above and beyond the everyday call of just normal run-of-the-mill liberal craziness and spotlight someone who just, frankly, embodies what it means to be a lib in 2024. Unhinged Liberal of the Day moving with us tomorrow, Friday, each and every Friday. It's going to be at about 5:30. How bizarre. Our weekly look back at the strangest stories of the past 7 days. On Wednesdays, we will play America's favorite game show, Guess What's Racist? We are bringing back Forgotten History, almost certainly next week, Thursday. Shorter 5-minute-ish tales from the annals of forgotten history. I'll tell you, you want to talk about something that'll get me kicked off the air, pronouncing annals like annals, the annals of history, you sickos. Each and every week we present those. We had an issue with not being able to play music on our podcast, so that we sort of took a hiatus. I think we have got a creative solution, and the return of Forgotten History probably coming next week, maybe the week after that. And how about this? I have been spending the week and a half that I've had off doing nothing but, well, relaxing and hanging out and celebrating Christmas. But in addition to that, I was also working. I was also thinking about brand new things that we are going to do for you, our brand new afternoon audience. And you had better believe we are ready to have some fun. We are also ready, unfortunately, to take another commercial break, because I am not used to, well, I can't really use that excuse. See, it's afternoon drive. I'm just going to talk as long as I want. One question that people have asked, will you be going well past 6 o'clock? No, because we are syndicated on multiple radio stations, I am done at 6 o'clock. Paul, who has worked until about 7:45 every night for the past 35 years, thanks me. I'm sure you will. Sean Hannity will come up after this show. We will get back into the twin terror attacks on New Year's Day when we come back here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Hi, it's Jerry Bott. You know, they say it could be lonely at the top, and as someone who's run a staff for over 30 years, if I can tell you, there's some truth to that. When a business executive doesn't have someone to talk to, it can add weight to the cross that we all carry. If you're an executive who's ready to reach out to other execs for perspective and to lift your spirit, I urge you to consider joining C-Suite for Christ. It's a faith-based organization dedicated to keep your soul healthy and strong. Attend a monthly gathering soon. It's a great networking opportunity. Or find out more at csuiteforchrist.com.
Winning in the NFL comes down to the basics, blocking and tackling. In retirement, the certainty of protection and income are the keys to success. And as a former NFL player myself, I have experience with both. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons. Having played on winning teams with the Steelers and Falcons, studying game films helped me mentally prepare for the challenges ahead. Now I star in a new Hollywood documentary called The Retirement Deception to help you visualize and prepare for your fourth quarter of life. You see, you don't retire on your nest egg, but rather the income it can produce. This film shows you exactly how to protect your retirement from stock market drops and produce more income than you thought possible. And it's free for you to view. Call 844-763-2896 right now for your free streaming code to watch The Retirement Deception. Don't risk your retirement savings at the goal line. You don't need to be risky to have a winning strategy. Call today to speak with an all-pro retirement specialist to get your free streaming code to watch The Retirement Deception. Call today, 844-763-2896. That's 844-763-2896. MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
They used water to restore your wood? No wonder you need us. Well, don't worry. This time we'll do it right. You see, water erases the grain of wood, warps it, and opens splits and glue joints. It's the enemy of finished furniture. And that's why we only remove your finish chemically. It's not the cheap way, but it is the best way. For the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. If you have a great piece and want to see if it's worth restoring, of course we can send someone out there. And no, we won't charge for the visit. We've been doing that for almost 50 years, along with pickups and deliveries, to get the beautiful piece that we restore back in your home safe and sound. And we'll guarantee your satisfaction to boot. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, By golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Where no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
Insurance sold by Smart Money Insurance Services Incorporated. Underwritten by various insurers. Coverage. Exclusions and limitations may apply.
Did you know the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more? Don't leave your loved ones with your debts. Download the Smart Money app right now and get up to $25,000 in final expense coverage starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Download the Smart Money app and get up to $25,000 in coverage for your funeral and other final expenses. Go to the App Store and download the Smart Bunny app and get instant coverage. Download the Smart Bunny app now.
I found a fountain of youth down there at QC Kinetics.
That's Henry Hinton, feeling like his young, active self again after treatments at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine.
I still have trouble walking down steps as I get older. I've had one treatment so far, and I can already tell a difference in my knee.
And that treatment at QC Kinetics used Henry's own natural healing properties, concentrated and placed right at the source of the pain. So Henry and patients just like him will enjoy long-term relief without surgery or downtime.
My knee is not hurting. I remember I was walking down some steps yesterday, and I thought, wow, this is not hurting when I walk down steps. I'm all in on it. I'm all in on QC Kinetics.
It's time to wind back the clock to days without constant joint pain. Start with a call to QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
The following takes place in a Capital Heating and Cooling truck.
Step on the gas, Seth. Roger that, Captain. We need to get Miss Johnson's furnace repaired fast. She couldn't believe we do same-day repairs, or that Capital works 7 days a week. It's Sunday, and we'll have her heat back on today. It's the right thing to do. Same-day repair. 7 days a week. Same-day repair. 7 days a week.
Capital One, do you read me?
Loud and clear, Laura.
You guys almost to Miss Johnson's house? We need to get her furnace repaired fast.
Be there in T-minus 3 minutes.
Step on the gas, Seth.
I already stepped on it. I already told him.
Roger that.
We'll contact you when the Eagle lands. Capital One, out. Same-day repair. 7 days a week. Same-day repair. 7 days a week.
Capital Heating and Cooling can repair your furnace same day, 7 days a week. Schedule online at callcapitalcares.com.
Who's looking for a deal? Well, Cousin Subs has a better deal just for you. Cousin's new $10 meal deals are now available online only. Choose between a 7.5-inch ham and provolone, turkey breast, or veggie sub, a bag of chips or regular fry, a regular fountain beverage, and cookie at cousinsubs.com or on the mobile app for just $10. Now that's a better deal. Cousin Subs, we believe in better. Available at participating locations only. Offer subject to change without notice.
How do you define strength? Is it physical? Or is it mental? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's whatever empowers a person to dig deeper, fight harder, and overcome obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. Discover how much stronger and more confident your children can be. Encourage them to participate in a sport when they go to high school.
This message presented by the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al Qaeda, white supremacy.
The most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. Domestic terrorism rooted in white supremacy is the greatest terrorist threat we face in the homeland. And we won't ignore what our intelligence agency have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism.
Well, I, for one, am shocked that Joe Biden's administration was completely left unaware about an Islamic jihadist terrorist who ended up killing 15 people and injuring at least 35 more, many very seriously, after plowing a truck through the New Year's Eve celebrations in New Orleans. We will cover this story as well as the truck catching fire. Did you know one of Elon Musk's Cybertrucks, those things are just so dangerous, death traps, really. They just catch fire outside of Trump's hotels. Elon probably had the valet park and it just randomly caught fire. The media's headlines yesterday, Cybertruck catches fire outside of Trump hotel. That is borderline defamatory. And in fact, Elon on X responded to a tweet today suggesting that he sues some of these news outlets because this actually is what meets the definition of defamatory reporting. This idea that a Cybertruck just sort of caught fire. No, it was loaded with explosives in a deliberate terror attack. We will get into that and broaden the discussion to this being exactly why nobody, and I mean nobody, trusts the media. Now, President Biden, who is allegedly still president, I have not seen any real evidence to confirm this, but ostensibly, Trump doesn't take office until January 20. Why would I think otherwise? There were 2 terror attacks on New Year's Day, and Biden is still on vacation at Camp David. Just to be clear, he is on a permanent vacation starting January 20th at 12:01 p.m. Yes, he just got back from St. Croix, Paul. You're absolutely right. Well, it's difficult. It is difficult work being a figurehead who doesn't actually run your own government. But he said, as he sort of... And I'm kind of 50-50 on whether to make fun of the guy because it is sort of sad watching his decline. And then I remember the person that Joe Biden has been for his entire life, and I get over it. He slurred his way through less than 4 minutes in which he urged people not to jump to conclusions about the obvious Islamic terror attack.
The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators. We have nothing additional to report at this time. The investigation is continuing to be active, and no one should jump to conclusions.
You got that? Don't jump to conclusions, even though the guy had an ISIS flag hanging off of the back of his Ford truck. Don't you dare come to any conclusions. Now, contrast that with Biden speaking at some sort of event immediately following the Buffalo supermarket shooting, Buffalo, New York, where a guy who apparently was a white supremacist opened fire, killing several people at a predominantly black-frequented business. Biden said, don't wait for the FBI to tell you. Jump to conclusions, folks.
What happened here is simple and straightforward. Terrorism. Failure for us to not say that, failure in saying that is going to be complicity. Silence is complicity. It's complicity. We cannot remain silent. The ideology of white supremacy has no place in America.
So, are you complicit in Islamist jihadi terrorism if you don't immediately jump to the patently obvious conclusion that this was motivated by the concept of jihad? I mean, how many videos does this cat have to post in the hours before he decides to blow up he decides to ram his truck into a whole bunch of people before the obvious thing becomes obvious? And why is it that the media is still questioning, well, we don't know what the motive of the guy who set fire and blew up a Cybertruck, Elon Musk's truck, in front of Trump's hotel. Boy, what could he possibly be saying? Someone who actually wants us to believe that she doesn't know what the guy's motivations were, what he thinks about Donald Trump. Coming up in your Unhinged Liberal of the Day. Next.
Doing okay on both sides of 41-45 between the Zoo and Good Hope at 8 minutes apiece. Over on 43, also a quiet trip. Brown Deer to the Marquette in either direction at 10 minutes. If you see any issues, call the Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank total traffic tip line at 414-944-5111. I'm Kevin Henry.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services and host of the Designer Yard Show. Another landscaping season is in the books, and what a great season it was. I started seasonal services 30 years ago, and I enjoy every day. Yes, some days are tough, but we've persevered because of many special people. The Christmas season is a great time to share our appreciation of others. So let me start by thanking our suppliers, clients, and the many builders who trust us with their valued clients. And to those of you who love gardening and nature as much as we do, thanks for listening to the Designer Yard Show every Saturday. Finally, thanks to the entire seasonal services team. You arrive early and you go home late. You give your all every day on the hottest days of summer and the coldest days of winter. You appreciate that hard work is rewarding, and for that I give you my admiration and thanks. So on behalf of all of us at Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services, best wishes 2025.
I'm Dan Small. Join me and Jeff Kelm for Outdoors Radio, Saturday mornings at 6 on News Talk 1130 WISN. Brought to you by the Range of Richfield, the ultimate shooting experience on Helson Drive in Richfield and online at therangewi.com.
Next Tuesday, you'll go to your business. You'll stand there in your office and make decisions. I think when you make decisions, it might be well for you to ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for your business to buy things you need to increase profitability than it was 4 years ago? Does your business have more or less unemployment? Is your business as respected as it was? Do you feel your business is on as secure financial grounds as it was 4 years ago? And if you answer all those questions, yes, why then, I think your choice is very obvious as to who handles your brand and marketing. If you don't think the marketing course is what you would like to see your business follow for the next 4, then I could suggest another choice that you have.
And it is improving the economy one business at a time. CreativeGeniusMarketing.com, INetDishWeb.com.
Here's a review of engine and transmission exchange that stands out. Rather than push repairs, Vince will be honest with you if it's bad news, like the repairs are going to cost more than the car is worth, and it's time to look for a better car. The customer who left that review is right, and knowing when to move on from a car and from costly repairs is easier when you've got a mechanic you can trust. The trust that Vince and his team at ETE have built up with customers is now multi-generational and well-known. In fact, WISN listeners talk as if they're doctors you turn to when you want a second opinion. A $2,000 car repair estimate that shocked one listener became a $146 repair when he took the car to Engine and Transmission Exchange. The price of one gal's 100,000-mile maintenance was cut in half because Vince told her, you don't really need to do that or this, but yes, these 2 fluid changes are important. ETE's people will be honest with you. It's why I and many of you have come to love Engine and Transmission Exchange. All of your work will be done by ASE certified technicians. They'll only do what needs to be done, and they'll do it right. Check out enginetrans.com. Enginetrans.com. It's Engine and Transmission Exchange.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Fox on Tech.
Drive an EV that isn't a Tesla? You may have some more charging station options soon enough. You might see specialized Tesla charging ports called superchargers at some gas stations, shopping center parking decks, and even in the lots at the Whole Foods market locations. But those have been exclusive to Tesla drivers, often to great complaint. Last year, Ford and GM both announced deals with Tesla to allow their electric vehicles the ability to plug into Tesla sockets, known as the North American Charging Standard, though not much has come of it yet, even as more automakers announced they too would come to agreements with Elon Musk's company. But now Hyundai says it has adapters that will allow Tesla's charging stations to work with their own line of EVs. The adapters are free as long as you buy or lease before January 31st, and you can request the device through Hyundai's owner portal. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
classical conservatism, contemporary style. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. We are asking you, our brand new afternoon listeners, to come up with the most creative things that I, your humble host, could say on this, my first day in afternoons, to get me moved right back to middays or worse. We have asked for your funniest, most creative suggestions. 414-799-1130. You can also reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. That is our talk and text line. All right. Funniest ones from the past couple of minutes. Things I could say to get demoted right back to middays. No, I'm not going to give out the $1,000 word of the hour, and you can't make me. That one more than anyone. If I want a listener rebellion, that would be the thing I say. Cold Hard Cash Contest will be starting up sooner, probably rather than later. It's not starting Monday, is it, Paul? I didn't miss a memo. Probably the following Monday, if I had to guess. Here's another one. Stay tuned for my 3-hour in-depth life tribute to Jimmy Carter. I feel like I do have to mention his passing. I have been trying to hold my tongue on social media, the thinking being you don't speak ill of the dead, but the fact that, A, people tried to lionize his post-presidency because his presidency was easily the most disastrous right up until Joe Biden's, is missing the mark. Jimmy Carter held deeply seated anti-Israel, if not outright anti-Semitic views, and openly interfered in American foreign policy, even going so far as to contact the leaders of Middle Eastern nations on the eve of Operation Desert Storm to tell them not to go along with the United States. That is, if not outright treasonous, that's treason adjacent. Some other ones. How about this? I believe everything the government says, and you should too. And my personal favorite, things that could get me booted off this show, I want Fridays off too.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany. Does that make me crazy?
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil. America is over.
Time now to name today's unhinged liberal of the day. Each and every day at about 3:50, 3:55, we highlight a liberal who goes above and beyond the call of duty of everyday craziness and really rises to the occasion. Today, it is CNN counterterrorism expert, former FBI agent Beth Sanner, who said even though a guy blew up a Cybertruck in front of a Trump property, you know, he might be pro-Trump.
Well, it's all speculation at this point, and we don't know whether this person was, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, maybe some kind of Islamic connection, although I don't think that.
Yes, Beth. Yes, we just don't know. I mean, it's like he wanted his own fireworks show on New Year's Day outside of the Trump Hotel, so he blew up a Cybertruck. He just wanted to celebrate Trump's coming inaugural. Beth Sanner, who either should know better or pretends that you don't, your unhinged liberal of the day. All right, Paul, you're catching on. Yes, the sign, me putting my hands down slowly, means slowly fade out the music. Really, this is nothing new. Paul and I work together 4 months each year, the last 2 years filling in for Mark. For those who are wondering where he is, he announced last month that he is taking his show to podcast form, and that is going to start on May 1st. We believe he is probably somewhere over the heartland of the United States, flying down to a well-deserved 4 months off in sunny South Florida. Coming up after the top of the hour news, we have got another election cycle here in Wisconsin that might be just as important as the one we just went through. No, I am not being hyperbolic. Plus, more on the twin terror attacks on New Year's Day. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show, and it'll be right back before you know it.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Michaels. Bourbon Street is now set to reopen in New Orleans following the New Year's Day terror attack that left 15 people dead. Fox's Jeff Manasso.
Bourbon Street cleared of carnage and cleaned overnight with the all clear to reopen. As FBI Assistant Deputy Director Christopher Reyes says, teams of officers and agents are poring over videos and data from cell phones and laptops connected to the terror suspect.
We do not assess at this point that anyone else is involved in this attack except for Shamsuddin Jabbar.
New details are emerging about the suspect. Fox's Brooke Taylor is in Houston.
Neighbors say that he lived there for about a year. His mom lived here at some period. We spoke to a neighbor next door. He said this is a close-knit Muslim community. There is a mosque about a minute away. He said that he knew Jabbar practiced his faith and prayed regularly, but he told us he was shocked to see this news, didn't see him as radicalized. Court records show that he was having big money troubles. He was divorced twice.
The terrorist attack in New Orleans hit pretty close to home for some people in Waukesha.
Dancing Granny's executive director Jan Kwiatkowski tells Fox 6 Milwaukee that Wednesday's attack in the French Quarter is a stark reminder of the day 4 members of her group were among 6 people killed when a man drove an SUV through the 2021 Waukesha Christmas parade.
Our hearts are breaking that the people of New Orleans have to go through this now, too.
Ted Allen, Wisconsin Radio Network.
The 4 o'clock business report brought to you by the Good Feet store. The Dow was down today, 151 points. The Nasdaq fell 32 while the S&P dropped 12. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports Scoreboard. Bucks home tonight to play Brooklyn. Tip time 7 o'clock at Fiserv. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, WISN News Center, I'm Dave Michaels on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Increasing clouds this afternoon as snow passes south of us in Illinois. It'll be a chilly day with temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. We drop into the teens tonight, then only climb to low 20s on Friday, but more sun is in the forecast. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get 60% off. Free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Attorney Tom Nichols.
I've been doing this for over 40 years. So I think it's safe for me to say that no business owner always knows exactly when to call an attorney. And nobody always asks all the right questions or knows exactly what legal services their business really needs. That's why at Meisner, Tierney, Fisher & Nichols, we advocate for long-term client relationships from day one, so we can begin to understand your business almost as well as you do, so that we know what's going right and what could go wrong. And so we can become particularly sensitive to the tax and other legal issues that you should deal with now, or be prepared to deal with later. You never want to end up behind the 8 ball, and our long-term familiarity with your business helps assure that you never get there in the first place.
Good clients deserve good lawyers. Meisner, Tierney, Fisher & Nichols. MTFN.com.
Great companies are collections of great people, and we have great people. They're the ones that helped us build our reputation, but they only come after you've built something they want to be part of.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
This change has leveled us up while being able to maintain the same quality of service that we've always provided, with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission. We're proud to be part of the Century 21 family, so you can move fearlessly with the added confidence of top-of-the-line marketing for maximum home exposure. And that means more eyeballs and the real potential for the highest price for your home. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. With the ability to market luxury homes on a higher scale than ever before, Century 21 Benefit Realty has taken a huge step forward to tap into a global network of buyers. Maximum exposure to spotlight your unique home with our fine homes and estates marketing so you can sell it for the highest price. And with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission, you win. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. I've been a big proponent of Lynch for a while now. Here's why. They're literally a family dealership and have been since 1957. That's increasingly rare in the dealership world today, but the Lynch family employs 500 plus people who are all dedicated to taking care of you. They've got a wide selection of new and used vehicles, extended service department hours for early drop-offs and late pickups, and most importantly, they're proud supporters of our local communities and schools. They also stand behind what they sell with Lynch-certified used vehicles, including a 168-point inspection to determine eligibility, an unparalleled 90-day or 3,000-mile certified guarantee, and a 10-day 500-mile exchange policy. And when you pair this with the Lynch Protected program, they cover your paint, your windshield, and your tires. It's easy to see why you should consider Lynch. Check them out today at shoplynch.com.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Statewide.
This is House Call for Health. A new government study reveals cases of diabetes are on the rise in the U.S. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention data finds nearly 1 in 6 adults has diabetes. That's 16% of the population. Most of the cases are type 2 diabetes. The report also shows men are more prone to the blood sugar disease than women. It also finds about 4.5% of adult Americans aren't even aware they have diabetes. Data also shows the risk of developing type 2 is strongly linked to obesity and increasing age. The new data was collected from mid-2021 through mid-2023 and appears in the NCHS data brief. And while we're on the topic, a different study published in Scientific Reports finds regular physical activity helps to slow the aging of those with type 2 diabetes, and that the optimal amount of physical activity per week is 594 minutes. That's just over 1 hour and 20 minutes per day. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
As promised, I have in the studio here with me Program Director Jerry Bott. We've got Dan O'Donnell in the studio, Ben Yount in the studio, and Vicki McKenna, because there's a major announcement we've been teasing for 2 days.
When Mr. Belling decided to take his program and make it podcast only, obviously that means that we're going to have to make some adjustments.
The next generation is here.
In Afternoon Drive, it will be the Dan O'Donnell Show from 3 to 6.
Welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Second hour underway as of right now. Welcome back to the show. I'm trying to see just the limits of what I can get away with in prime time here, and I need your help. What are some things that I should avoid, things that I could say that would get me kicked off just as soon as I started? 414-799-1130 is the AdventNows.com talk and text line. Reach me toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Of course, you can email me, DOD@iHeartMedia.com. We are streaming live at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show, and on YouTube. Paul, did you just feel like stopping the music suddenly there, or what happened? You were just done? He says he's still used to Mark. Did Mark just not, he didn't want the music faded out. He just wanted cut off abruptly, so abruptly that I lose my train of thought. All right, that's why Mark had one of the greatest shows in the history of radio, certainly I think the greatest local conservative talk show host in the history of radio, because of crack producing just like that. Things that I could say to get me kicked off. Let's see. How about this? Either Paul goes or I go. He's sort of like the cockroaches of WISN/WIBA. A nuclear bomb could go off. Hosts come and go. He's still there. He's like, you know what? That was mean. You're like the J. Edgar Hoover of talk show producers. Doesn't matter who's there. You've got dirt on all of us, so you're going to blackmail us if we try to fire you. All right, what could I say that would get me booted off of Afternoon Drive? Joe in Racine says, well, it's 4:07 and I'm out of material. That's not bad. Matt in Green Bay says, Mark took his show to podcasts. Well, I'm taking my show to MySpace. And finally, What could get me moved right back to mornings? How about this? Have a crappy day. Enjoy your crummy job. If you got a better suggestion, we will read the very best. 414-799-1130 and 1-800-838-9476. Now, I have been taking my shots at the FBI, the esteemed investigative agency, which somehow managed to miss the guy who is pretty consistently posting pro-ISIS videos that got increasingly threatening and was pretty open about his apparent desire to commit the exact sort of terror attack that he did commit in New Orleans on early New Year's Day. I'm saying 2 nights ago, but you get my drift. It was technically yesterday, but it was about 3:15 local time or something like that when he rammed his Ford truck, which he had rented through the app Turo, just like the Cybertruck that was blown up outside of the Trump property in Las Vegas. That's not the only coincidence here. Do you want to hear another weird one? The terrorist, the Islamic jihadi from New Orleans, he was from Houston, he drove down to New Orleans to commit his attack. He was a former Army soldier who was stationed at one point at Fort Hood. Do you know where the Green Beret domestic terrorist who blew up the Cybertruck was once stationed? Fort Hood. In fact, a sheriff out in Las Vegas said there is no known connection. They did not apparently serve together. It does not appear that they knew each other. Hey, guess where the weirdo who tried to assassinate Trump because he was convinced that if Trump won the presidency, he was going to defund the Ukraine war? You remember the would-be mercenary who actually went overseas to try to role play? He actually went to Ukraine. Guess where he visited dozens of times? Apparently Fort Hood. What exactly is going on at Fort Hood? Hey, where was the worst shooting on an Army base up until that point? The single deadliest terror attack or mass shooting incident in American history back in 2009? Fort Hood. I don't know if this is just a coincidence. Is this like the next generation of the MK Ultra experiment where they're brainwashing these guys? I'm kidding, but I'm kind of a little concerned that there is this connection here. It is almost certainly a coincidence, but you don't know. And the point is that if you listen to just official channels of information, i.e. the FBI, you wouldn't know. Because if you did listen to the FBI, specifically the special agent in charge, Alethea Duncan, early in the morning on January 1st yesterday, you would have heard her say this is definitively not terrorism.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
About an hour and a half, 2 hours later, she said the exact opposite.
The FBI is the lead investigative agency, and we're investigating this as an attack of terrorism along with our partners.
All right. Now, a lot of people are making fun of her. She had a nose ring. Did you see that? She had a nose ring. And apparently this is against FBI protocol. You're not allowed to have facial jewelry. I'm not exactly sure if that's just for agents who are working out of Quantico. She works out of, like, the FBI is sort of like a McDonald's, right? That there's the FBI, but then there are franchises all over. Now, these happen to be owned and operated by the FBI, but they have offices in every major city. Milwaukee FBI, Madison FBI, everywhere there's an FBI office. She obviously is stationed in New Orleans, and everybody is making a big deal out of the fact that she somehow got away with being able to have a nose ring, or whether she was because she's an African-American female. I think this is sort of unfair that she's a DEI hire. This is, by the way, the problem with DEI or affirmative action, is it not? There is always the question, hey, did this person really rise to the level of being the special agent in charge of the New Orleans Bureau of the FBI? Or in the wokest administration in American history was she placed there? Now, people are saying, well, she was out of her depth. She had no idea what she was talking about. I wouldn't have phrased it as this was not a terror attack. But she did clearly not want to say before all of the ducks were in a row. There is a very clear protocol, and this dates back decades, well before 9/11, because you don't want to incite mass panic, especially in New Orleans, where there is a massive recovery effort underway trying to treat patients and all of that. The last thing you want is to get people panicked unnecessarily, and you don't want people who might have been involved in the plot. We now think the guy acted alone. The FBI is saying it seems like he acted alone. Yes, I saw the video of people appearing to... One thing I will say about that, by the way, trust that videos are not always what they appear to be, and that your interpretation of it, despite how strong your convictions may be, might actually be inaccurate, okay? But this is the problem with DEI, that people wonder whether or not she actually earned the position and the trust that's placed in her. But I think she actually did everything right, except that choice of words, and one other thing. One other thing. I want to know if you hear the same thing I did in her initial statement.
What happened here?
No. That's Joe Biden. How do we get over there? Well, we made it exactly an hour and 16 minutes before we screwed things up. But here's Alethea Duncan, special agent in charge.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found. And we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
She said something there. She did something, really, that was, frankly, inexcusable for someone in her position. She did the up-talking thing. What we think is that this was a bunch of explosive devices in a truck that rammed into people. I can't stand that. And men do it too, but it's more often than not a woman thing, where everything sounds like a question. And when you're trying to convey authority and competence, you probably shouldn't talk like this.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found. And we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
I'm telling you, every single beat of what she said and the rhythm and cadence, we are trying to confirm whether it's a terror attack or not. There is all manner of reasons not to believe anything that comes out of the mouth of anyone from the FBI, frankly, and that's the reality here. While this may have been an innocent mistake, and yes, I'm just making fun because I heard that second press conference live, and man, did that just grate on me. Call it a pet peeve when people start up-talking. Could you imagine if I did my very first afternoon show talking like that? That might be my April Fool's prank this year, is just doing the up-talking thing for an entire show and see if we could get Paul to quit by about 4:35. Speaking of which, at 5:35-ish, we are continuing the Mark Belling football preview and picking contest. Mark has emailed in his pick. We will talk to Mike Merlette. Do we have an audience contestant, or do we need one? We do have a contestant who is back. He'll make his pick. So too will Paul. I will just sort of be here. I'm not allowed to pick. You know what? It's my show now. I'm not a fill-in anymore. Screw all you guys. I'm picking. Not only was I another host on WISN, I was also a listener. And I heard how terribly all of you people were doing at picking football this year. So I couldn't do any worse. Let's just put it that way. It's notoriously impossible to pick the final week of the NFL regular season because everybody sits. Did you see Saquon Barkley? Superstar running back. He has a chance to set the NFL's all-time single-season rushing record, which is BS. He had more games to do it in than Eric Dickerson did. He's not going to be given the chance. They're going to sit him. They're going to not risk it, which is probably the smart thing to do. So coming up at about 5:35, Mark Belling football picking contest. That will continue through the end of this football season, meaning the Thursday before Super Bowl Sunday. We are going to continue to do this. There is a national championship, the quarterfinals. The quarterfinal game is going on right now. For those who are unaware, the All-State Sugar Bowl, which is played in New Orleans, was postponed. About 5.5 minutes left. Georgia and Notre Dame tied at 3. Sorry if you were taping it, if you're a diehard Notre Dame fan, to watch after work. But you know what? I'm a Marquette guy, so screw you, Notre Dame fans. There's always that natural rivalry. We might get into the logistics of pushing back the game. We got all sorts of stuff to talk to Mike Merlette about. But the biggest thing that the federal government has is this utter loss of trust, an entirely self-inflicted wound. Go back to the very earliest days of the Biden administration. Heck, go even further than that. You need to look no further than October of 2020, when we were told that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. You had 50 former top intelligence officials destroy their own credibility by signing a letter saying this has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. The FBI had Hunter's laptop and yet refused to confirm what Trump was saying, that it was completely and totally illegitimate. Instead of a media that you would think would have a vested interest in getting to the bottom of all this, it engaged in a blackout. In fact, even posted notes on its website, most famously NPR, explaining why they would not be covering the Hunter Biden laptop. The real reason, of course, was because they knew it was legit. They knew how damaging it was, and they were all on the same team doing as much as they could to borrow a phrase from the first Trump administration, colluding to keep Trump out of office. The earliest days of the Biden administration. Remember when they rolled out the vaccines? If you get the vaccine, you cannot spread COVID anymore. We played that Rachel Maddow soundbite until even I was sick of hearing it. The virus stops with you. If you are vaccinated, the virus stops with you. If you said anything that contradicted that, you'd be thrown off social media. You'd be blocked. You'd be shadow banned. All working in conjunction with the government to push a preferred narrative. Not the truth, but the, air quotes, truth as the government wishes it could be, as the government hopes that you believe it to be. It's not about truth. It's all about narrative. So then when you have serious events happen, there's a complete absence of American leadership. The president of the United States is still on vacation, and I don't know if we're just sort of all counting down the days like we've got our own little advent calendars waiting for Biden to leave and Trump to take office again. But nobody is saying, hey, you don't think the president of the United States should cut his vacation short because we've had 2 terror attacks in a couple of hours on the American homeland? That's not something that gets the commander-in-chief back from Camp David? Okay, then. But it starts at the top. You've got this leadership vacuum. You've got government and a presidency by committee. And you have got a government that relies on the media, not has an adversarial relationship with the media, which is how things should be. The fourth estate is meant to cover the other 3, is meant to hold accountable the other 3, so that all of us can be an informed electorate. When they're in cahoots, the American people is not only not served, but the idea of an informed electorate is impossible. So when something like this happens, nobody believes the official narrative. Nobody believes the official account. You should always treat the media and the Biden government and even the Trump government. Hell, you should even treat me like Reagan did the Soviets. Trust but verify. For those who are new to this show, I don't think you should take anything I say at face value. Sure, I research everything I say, and I believe it to the best of my abilities to be as close to the darn truth as humanly possible. But don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. Check my work. Check what I'm saying against your own philosophy and worldview. Agree, disagree, provide your own counter argument, but don't just swallow it wholesale. For the last 4 years and even before that, the government and the media, the rest of the media has been saying to you, not just swallow it wholesale, but if you don't, if you dare to think for yourself, if you dare to counter our preferred narrative, you don't deserve to have access to the public square. You don't deserve to have any voice in public affairs whatsoever. We will always give you a voice here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. More of your texts coming up next, plus much more.
It's time for Rapid Traffic.
Delays are getting heavier southbound 894, slowing now between Oklahoma and the Hale interchange. That's a 10-minute trip from the zoo. Add another 10 traveling eastbound to the Mitchell interchange with delays breaking after 84th Street. If you see any issues, call the Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank total traffic tip line at 414-944-5111.
This report is sponsored by Positive Coaching Alliance.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
I'm board-certified plastic surgeon Michelle Bonas. Unlike injectable fat reduction drugs, side effects of Cool Tone are stronger sculpted buttocks, ab, and thigh muscles. That's if you'd call looking good and improved long-term health side effects. Cool Sculpting patients achieve significant, visually satisfying fat reduction results at my Brookfield MediSpa. Only Bonas charges per result, not per cycle, delivering satisfying fat reduction at value pricing. Why not look the way you feel inside? Your body, your life, love it. drbonas.com.
Attorney Tom Grieve here for Divergent Family Law. Many divorce lawyers set the divorce stage as a cage match, fight of your life. They make money off your misery. The quality of your attorney and Wisconsin law have greater impact on your divorce decree than fighting will. Divergent Family Law is the right firm for your soul and finances. Transitioning to your own life path doesn't have to mean doing as much damage possible to everyone involved. Divergent Family Law. Separate and equal, or better. DivergentFamilyLaw.com.
Dan O'Donnell here for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you in Waukesha, Milwaukee, Muskego, Brookfield, Heartland, Cedarburg, and their Waukesha Fleet and Specialty location. If you have a business with a multi-vehicle fleet, Mander is the place to go because their team understands you can't have a vehicle out of service for a while, so they work quickly and efficiently to get you back on the road and serving your customers as fast as possible through expedited fleet repairs. Mander has been serving their customers and their community for well over 20 years, and they know that the key is expert workmanship and fast turnaround times combined with the sort of customer service that you'll only find at a family-owned local business like Mander. Start your repair today at mandercollision.com and find out for yourself why Mander truly is your best decision after a collision.
When Flawless Flooring installs luxury vinyl plank, hardwood, modern laminate, or carpeting, I personally guarantee your satisfaction with every step from shopping through installation. I'm Flawless Flooring's president, Dave Brownsdorf, and I approve this message. Sensory underload, Flawless Flooring, flawlessflooringllc.com.
I'm Total Health's Jay Johnson, the Falls and New Berlin. Remember looking forward to playing with your kids or grandkids and having the energy to? At Total Health, we hear it all the time. People say, I'm too tired and worn out to be the person my spouse married or parent or grandparent my family deserves. Sound familiar? Total Health naturopaths find root causes of fatigue and lethargy, then treat you, the whole person, restoring energy and overall wellness. It could be dietary or thyroid function, or maybe you just need to drop some weight. Big Medicine's weight loss injection causing stomach, gallbladder, intestinal, and vascular problems works for them. Sick people are profitable. If excess weight is a contributing factor to you not feeling your best, Total Health naturopaths will never judge you. We'll be honest, providing the tools and motivation to lose weight. Then we'll be with you throughout your journey to feeling happy, healthier, energetic, and well. Be that person your family deserves. It's not theory. Relativity equals expertise plus execution. TotalHealthInc.com. That's TotalHealthInc.com.
Need a tree on the ground now? Cut and Go offers same day or next day half-service tree removal. We do the dangerous part, putting the trees on the ground in orderly fashion. You do the cleanup. A Trees and Tons movement. CutandGoTrees.com. That's CUTNGO Trees.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules. All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the Annex Wealth Management Studios. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference.
Marketing a modern business means finding and serving your customers 24/7 wherever they are. WISN broadcasts are a powerful platform, but there's so much more. WISN's online digital tools are completely customizable, so you can reach your ideal customer through the iHeart app or by using software that actually finds your customers at a specific location or event. These tools are precise, efficient, measurable marketing weapons that you need to use. Combine the power and clout of WISN's broadcast and digital platforms right now. Go to newstalk1130.com, keyword digital.
In-depth investigations, irreverent fun. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Keep those suggestions coming for things I could say that would get me kicked off of this show on my first day. Here are a couple of my favorites that were just texted in. Please let me introduce my new co-host, Joy Behar. Or, I'd like to begin the show with a land acknowledgement. I'm currently sitting on land forcibly taken from the Potawatomi, the Ho-Chunk, and the Ojibwe tribes. The funniest thing of all about that is that liberals actually do that. This came into fashion. When else did a woke thing come into fashion? Following the death of St. George Floyd in 2020, when the entire country lost its ever-loving mind, liberals started saying, well, I am, so-and-so, pronouns ze, zer, zers. And I am currently sitting on land, come on. So, okay, before the Potawatomi were a tribe, who had that land? Do we know? Or, when does this stop? I mean, I'm half Italian, so do I get to demand that the Italians get, the Romans get acknowledgement for the land of Gaul that we now call France? Because I'm fairly certain Julius Caesar conquered it during the Gallic Wars several thousand years ago. Seriously, how far back do we go with liberal craziness? The fact that, again, the media just buys into said craziness and doesn't give it a second thought. Did you notice how quickly a land acknowledgement just sort of became a thing? Did you notice how quickly Black Lives Matter was just sort of a thing? Kind of petered out when it was discovered that the two founders spent most of the donations that they took in on houses for themselves, but it's because the media has a preferred narrative. And now I always get pushback from lefties who say, well, when conservatives talk about the media, what do they mean? There's all sorts of news outlets. Well, yeah, there are. Why is it that they all say the same thing? Why is it that they were all for years, pushing this notion that Joe Biden never met any of Hunter's business associates? Would you believe that over Christmas break, when the entire country, they supposed, wasn't paying attention, the FBI finally released pictures of Joe Biden posing with several of Hunter's Chinese business associates? Weird that that happens right before Joe leaves office. Even weirder that it happens right when no one is looking, and even weirder still that, yet again, the government and the media were lying to you, to all of us. Right up until the moment, and I chronicled this on my midday show for a month, after Biden's disastrous debate performance in late June, right up until the very moment they could no longer hide the fact that the man was rather obviously in severe cognitive decline. They did, and they didn't just do it. They didn't just say, oh, well, I didn't see that. They accused conservatives of playing dirty politics. Do you remember cheap fakes? They said, well, these are cheap fake videos. These are videos that are not AI, but they're just selectively edited to make Joe Biden look bad. Oh, yes, when the prime minister of Italy had to get Biden because he wandered off to talk to a couple of paratroopers. Yes, when Barack Obama had to lead Biden off the stage by his shirt cuff, those were selectively edited. But right up until the moment that Biden was no longer needed, they threw him overboard. And for 3 glorious weeks in the summer, the media and pretty much every Democrat was honest. Didn't last, of course, once they got what they wanted and Biden dropped out, or at least someone wrote his "I'm dropping out" tweet for him. Conveniently enough, right around the time you would think Biden would be taking a nap on a Sunday afternoon in July. Could you imagine Biden's out back in the hammock, passed out? He wakes up, I did what? I endorsed who? Jill, get me a warm milk. There is a consistent pattern, and there has been, of just outright dishonesty. And as if that wasn't bad enough, it's dishonesty in service to the government's message. I think in the news business, and I'll include myself in this too, we have forgotten that it is our duty to be adversarial with members of the government. This was a lesson I learned very early on from Mark Belling. These are not your friends. These are not your allies. These are people that you need to absolutely blast if need be. These are people that absolutely need to be held accountable. For the last 4 years, there has been no accountability amidst what I consider to be the single biggest political scandal probably of our lifetime. You don't know what it is, do you? I can't say I blame you. The fact that we actually haven't had a president for the past 4 years. The fact that Joe Biden was so, according to a Wall Street Journal report that has not yet been refuted, right from the moment he was elected, that he just was not with it, that they would have to postpone meetings because Biden has good days and bad days. Robert Hur, the special prosecutor investigating the classified document scandal, said we can't prosecute him because he is a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. That's not somebody who is fit to hold the remote control at family Christmas, let alone run the country and hold the nuclear codes. But the media covered it up, because the alternative would have been far worse. It would have been acknowledging that for all of his faults, for as terrible as he is, for as Hitler-esque as we suppose him to be, at least Donald Trump is physically and mentally competent. Conservative thought, not just talk. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
It's time for Rapid Traffic.
In the Lynch Chevrolet of Kenosha Total Traffic Center, eastbound 94 slowing up from 76th over to 27th, westbound from the stadium to Mitchell Boulevard, southbound on 894 jam from Oklahoma down to the Hale, and then eastbound to 84th Street. If you see any issues, call the Total Traffic Tip line at 414-944-5111.
This report is sponsored by the Lynch Automotive family of dealerships.
For over 65 years, the Lynch family of dealerships has been more than just a car dealership. Starting in 1957, we've treated our customers like family from day one. Start your car buying journey today at shoplynch.com.
If you already know football or you want to learn more, listen to the Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest every week on News Talk 1130 WISN. Mark, along with football handicapping expert Mike Merlette, dissect the most interesting games. Plus, a listener can pick a game for a chance to win a $100 gift card.
The Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest is presented by Holiday Automotive of Fond du Lac, featuring hundreds of new and pre-owned vehicles, plus impeccable customer service. It's worth the trip. HolidayAutomotive.com.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Patrick and Monica initially chose a bank to get pre-approved and provide financing for the purchase of their first home. But they were getting a bad feeling when a week after their offer was accepted, the bank still hadn't locked in their rate, nor had the appraisal been ordered. Monica shared her concerns with a friend who happened to be a multi-time Accunet client. That led to Monica connecting with one of our senior loan consultants the same day, and after gathering some information and reviewing options, we locked in their rate right then and there with loan costs $3,600 lower than what the bank had quoted. The appraisal was ordered right away too, and the loan closed on time just 3 weeks later. We also noticed an oversight in the contract that led to a $3,000 credit from the seller. You can get a generic pre-approval and average or worse service from a bank, or you can get the kind of fast service, advice, attention to detail, and savings that made Monica and Patrick Accunet's latest raving fans. All you got to do to get started is click on the blue button at Accunet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text SPARK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 42424. That's SPARK to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hello, this is John Kuhn for Hildebrand Law. Estate planning is truly for everyone, even former fullbacks. And who do you want to decide what happens to your assets, your wealth? You are the courts. For the right to play, go to Hildebrand Law Firm. I did. Their estate planning team of experts are approachable, smart, and caring, and they're right here in southeastern Wisconsin. Kirsten Hildebrand and her firm are part of our community and committed to the highest quality of service. They're my firm. To request consultation, go to hildebrandlawfirm.net or call at 414-207-6357.
The following takes place in a Capital Heating and Cooling truck.
Step on the gas, Seth. Roger that, Captain. We need to get Miss Johnson's furnace repaired fast. She couldn't believe we do same-day repairs. Or that Capital works 7 days a week. It's Sunday, and we'll have her heat back on today. It's the right thing to do. Same-day repair. 7 days a week. Same-day repair. 7 days a week.
Capital One, do you read me?
Loud and clear, Laura.
You guys almost to Miss Johnson's house? We need to get her furnace repaired fast.
Be there in T-minus 3 minutes.
Step on the gas, Seth.
I already stepped on it. I already told him.
Roger that.
We'll contact you when the Eagle lands. Capital One, out. Same-day repair. 7 days a week. Same-day repair. 7 days a week.
Capital Heating and Cooling can repair your furnace same day, 7 days a week. Schedule online at callcapitalcares.com.
I'm defense attorney Tom Grieve. If you drive drunk, you will be pulled over and you will be arrested. You cannot talk your way out of a DUI, but you can keep your mouth shut for your best defense. Call my team of award-winning former state prosecutors. You are only guilty if you are convicted. GrieveLaw.com.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 10% off. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
If you're a fan of our Wisconsin sports teams, here's the perfect podcast for you. The Larrivee and LePay podcast with two Hall of Fame broadcasters. Wayne Larrivee, the voice of the Green Bay Packers, and Matt LePay, the voice of Wisconsin Badgers football and men's basketball. Together, bringing you insights and guests, talking Packers, Badgers, Brewers, Bucks, and more. Listen to the Larrivee and LePay podcast. Available anytime on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Presented by UW Credit Union. Here for every you.
A tour de force of truth. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Yes, for those asking, I am trying to get all of my catchphrases in on the very first show so you people get used to them. And yes, like half of them are ripped off from Rush Limbaugh. What of it? I rip off other people. I'm Dan O'Donnell. Good day. Folks, I hope you will permit me just a couple moments of indulgence here. I really am having an absolute blast. And I know this is a somewhat temporary thing. No, not me hosting this. You're stuck with me for the next 30 years if they'll have me. We are, however, still taking your texts, your suggestions for things that I could say that would get my rear end shipped right back to middays. They just slide in Ben Yount or make a panicked call to Belling. What could I say immediately to get moved back down or worse? Text me, theadventknows.com text line 414-799-1130, 1-800-838-9476 is our toll-free talk and text line. For those of you who still pay tolls on your phones, how many people do they think are using track phones in this audience? Do they think we have an audience of meth dealers? Why do we still have a toll-free talk and text line? It is sort of a relic of the past, but please permit me a moment of indulgence. It is just so much fun doing this show, the sort of show that I've always wanted to do and got to do in a 2-hour format, which was very, very condensed because you just don't have as much time. But to also do it with Paul, a producer as great as you are. When I say it's a temporary thing, you are going to be moving to the Mark Belling podcast. What, we couldn't find somebody else for him to scream at for 45 minutes a day? He only wanted to scream at you. You know what that is? That's true love. That is true brotherly father-son. Maybe slightly more than friends. I don't know how close you guys were. That's real. Paul is. I think he just barfed into the trash can after I said that. But no, it is so much fun, and everyone has just been so incredibly kind and so incredibly welcoming. I mean, believe it or not, I've been doing a talk radio show I've been doing shows of various kinds for, my goodness, more than 20 years. Oh, boy, I feel real old. Real old. In fact, our friend Brett Ochtenhagen of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services said, I was there the first time on another radio station that we're not going to mention. The first time he did a lawn and garden show. They had me as his host. I don't know what the heck I could have added as a 25-year-old who didn't even have a yard, right? I'm living in a condo. I'm like, I don't know, Brett. Don't they have like the building supervisor take care of that? I don't know how yard work works. But as somebody who's been doing this for so long, I was genuinely nervous today. Not nervous, but, because I've been doing this so long, I could do a show standing on my head and, without any research. And some might say it sounds like most of my shows don't have any research behind them. But I was nervous. I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach. My 10-year-old daughter, when she gets nervous about something new, she always says, my tummy hurts. She has said that since she was like 4 years. I could predict if it's like a new soccer season starts. Same team, same coach, her dad, but she'll say, my tummy hurts. my tummy hurts. I'm scared. I'm a little nervous. That's how I felt. Today, I'm not ashamed to say my tummy hurt a little bit because I knew I was going to do the exact same show I've been doing for practically a decade in the iHeartMedia family. But I guess I'm hyper cognizant of the fact that Belling wasn't just a talk show host. I shouldn't talk about this like he's dead. Like, may he rest in peace. No, his podcast starts in May. But he, as influential as Rush was on the national scene, Mark Belling was not just in Milwaukee, but for local talk radio. He was really the pioneer. I mean, he was the Rush Limbaugh, and still is and always will be, of local talk radio. And here you've got some jamoke from Milwaukee who's got to come in and do the show after him. To say it's a tough act to follow would be an understatement, but I do thank you so much for at least spending an hour and 50 minutes with me. It's obviously no guarantee you're going to spend another hour and 10. We've got the football preview and picking contest. We have got a big development out of Madison. Uncounted ballots are going to be counted. Wait, what? Also, the next election starts now, whether we're ready for it or not. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
It's time for Rapid Traffic.
Westbound on 94, only 12 minutes out to Moreland Road. Then in Waukesha County, you got a crash block in all lanes just before Highway P. Avoid that by getting off at Highway C. Your eastbound trip Moreland to the Marquette at 16. If you see any issues, call the Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank total traffic tip line at 414-944-5111. I'm Kevin Henry.
This report is sponsored by the Lynch Automotive family of dealerships.
For over 65 years, the Lynch family of dealerships has been more than just a car dealership. Starting in 1957, we've treated our customers like family from day one. Start your car buying journey today at shoplynch.com.
This change has leveled us up while being able to maintain the same quality of service that we've always provided, with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission. We're proud to be part of the Century 21 family, so you can move fearlessly with the added confidence of top-of-the-line marketing for maximum home exposure. And that means more eyeballs and the real potential for the highest price for your home. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. With the ability to market luxury homes on a higher scale than ever before, Century 21 Benefit Realty has taken a huge step forward to tap into a global network of buyers. Maximum exposure to spotlight your unique home with our fine homes and estates marketing so you can sell it for the highest price. And with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission, you win. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated.
This just in, hot off the bench press. Planet Fitness has added new strength equipment. Save $28 or more when you join today, and you can be one of the first to try it out. We're raising the bar with new benches, and our new hack squat will have you actually looking forward to leg day. Plus, we're still repping all of the best-in-class equipment we've always had, with most clubs open 24 hours, so you can work out your way on your time. So let's do this. Join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more. Just $1 down, $15 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends January 10th. See Home Club for details.
We're the Libby family
at Do-It-Yourself Bathroom Center near State Fair on 62nd and Greenfield.
Bathrooms and kitchens are our specialty. We use real wood cabinets and quartz tops to make beautiful rooms you will love for many, many years. And our experts really know their stuff.
Remember our slogan,
I did it myself at Do-It-Yourself.
It's like being trapped in a cage. And I know that sounds dramatic, but your breathing triangle problem has got you trapped. And once you're freed, you're going to be able to live the life that you're missing out on. Now, this can simply mean experiencing the true pleasure of breathing freely. It will mean better sleep and more energy. And the worry of this problem any more affecting your life is going to be gone. Because in almost every case, when Advent has solved a breathing triangle problem, it's a one and done. Because we're not in the business of delivering Band-Aids. We want to fix your nasal breathing problem for good. We don't want you to be a lifelong patient. We want you to be our next success story.
Isn't it time you break free from that cage? Take the next step. Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with
Results may vary. Most insurance accepted.
Many states don't allow newly built homeowners to move in until furnace ducts are sealed because sealing ducts saves energy. Even in brand new homes, Clean Living Environments will save you money for life. Get more out of your ducts, cleanlivingenvironments.com. That's cleanlivingenvironments.com.
When you've made the choice to buy the industry's best, Marvin Replacement Windows, find them at Wisconsin's largest Marvin window dealer. Your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
I'm Ashley Dvorkin with the Fox Celebrity Profile with Adam Damos and Kikoa Kekumano of Fox's Rescue High Surf.
We basically did like 95% of the stuff ourselves, which is, you really learn on the job really fast. He can talk more to it because he's a certified lifeguard before we started this show. So we're all just trying to follow this bloke. But yeah, it was good. It was tough, and what you see is what you get.
But all these guys are athletes. They're really athletic. And the training is pretty extensive, and it's not easy. Dealing with the conditions and stuff like that in the water, it's not something that a lot of people are used to if you didn't grow up around the ocean and stuff. So, they had a lot of extensive training, swimming, paddling, running on the beach, on the sand. It takes a lot.
As for this look into the lives of lifeguards on the North Shore of Oahu, they say the goal was bringing an authenticity to the rescues.
You know what was the most challenging? It's like when you're in the water, some days it's freezing cold. Then when you're on land wearing a wetsuit and it's boiling hot, but you can't get in the water because you shot the water portion already. So it's like the climate will do it to you. But yeah, it's all challenging, but it's rewarding too, because what you see on screen, we know that we did that.
Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Committed to covering the important stories and issues that the rest of the media won't touch. This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130, WISN.
Notre Dame has taken a 13-3 lead over Georgia in the quarterfinals of the College Football Championship, also known as the Sugar Bowl, also known as the All-State Sugar Bowl. It was postponed from yesterday, New Year's Day, of course, because of the terror attack in New Orleans early New Year's Day. I'm calling it New Year's Eve. I do need to make one correction from earlier this hour. Nidal Hassan was Fort Hood, Texas. The other two guys were Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Do I have that correct now? I was mistaken on where the two terror suspects from today. Yeah, both were at Fort Bragg. I said Fort Hood. I made a mistake. And actually, that is going to be the only mistake that is ever made on this, the new Dan O'Donnell show. Fortunately, I've got a management team that is very forgiving. However, all day long today, we have been going through your texts to find the one thing that I could say that would get me thrown off this show on the very first day. Mike in Concord, Wisconsin texts in, "If you don't believe me, ask my friend Don Lemon." Here's another suggestion. How about check out the Dano cam to see me do the show in blackface? Oh, man. And that soundbite just got cut up and is going to air all over Media Matters for the next week. How quickly do you think they're going to try to cut that baby up? Here we go. Matt in Waldo says, what I could say to get me booted off. The only reason I took the afternoon time slot was so I could watch The View in the morning because I worship the ground those ladies walk on. And finally, something that would get me booted off. Lately, I've been having erotic dreams about Nancy Pelosi. Ah! And just like that, I'm not going to be able to sleep at all tonight. I did finally start, last night, Squid Game Season 2. Have you seen Squid Game Season 1 yet, Paul? You are literally the one person across every single country that Netflix operates in. The reason I bring this up is because, once again, Squid Game is something that is really transcending what has been a big barrier to the true universal consumer, universal pop culture touchstone. Across all countries that Netflix is in, Squid Game was #1 when it premiered in October of 2022, and it's on its way to doing the exact same thing with Squid Game Season 2, which premiered the day after Christmas 2024. We don't have the final season, the final episode of MASH or Cheers anymore. The only cultural touchstone, the only thing that we all come together and all watch together as a country is the Super Bowl. It's football. Every single week, football is the only thing people come together. It is therefore rare, an increasingly rare event that there is something like Squid Game. And even Squid Game, half of the people listening to me right now have no idea what I'm talking about. That's inconceivable. Like, for example, I love telling this story. Do you know what percentage of TVs were watching the Charlie Brown Christmas special when it premiered in the 1960s? 50. Half of all TVs were watching that. We got to step aside for the news. When we come back, state politics. Stay tuned.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Michaels. The FBI searched a residence they say is connected to the man who drove a Tesla Cybertruck up to the entrance of the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas just before the vehicle exploded, killing him.
Federal agents are searching a home in the Colorado Springs area they say is connected to Matthew Allen Livelsberger, the now dead driver of the Cyber Tesla truck that exploded in front of the Trump International Hotel near the Las Vegas Strip. Fox News confirms Livelsberger was an active duty U.S. Army Special Operations soldier who had a history with the military going back to 2006. The FBI also now says they do not believe Livelsberger's acts are connected to the terror attack in New Orleans. Eben Brown, Fox News.
This morning, a child was struck and killed by a school bus in a parking lot at Silver Spring Intermediate School in Sussex. Fox 6's Jason Calvi.
Prior to the start of the school day, the student involved was a 4K student. That's a 4-year-old kindergarten student who was here transferring to a shuttle bus to be taken to Willow Springs Learning Center.
And State Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu laid out his #1 priority once the state legislature returns to Madison.
The most important thing that we do every session is a budget, obviously. The governor will introduce his budget at some point in February. We've been working with him on a date for a State of the State address and the budget address.
The state's budget surplus is well over $4 billion. The new legislative session begins next week. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports Scoreboard, 3 Green Bay Packers have been named to the Pro Bowl, 1 a starter. Safety Xavier McDaniel. Running back Josh Jacobs and linebacker Rashawn Gary were also named to the team. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, WISN News Center, I'm Dave Michaels on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Partly cloudy and chilly tonight. Temperatures dropping through the 20s this evening and settling in the teens overnight. Mostly sunny and windy on Friday with a high of 23. Wind chills in the single digits all day. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get 60% off. Free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at mandercollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
I'm board-certified plastic surgeon Michelle Boness. You can look the way you feel inside without risking long-term side effects of injectable fat reduction therapies while saving money with Boness Cool Sculpting and Cool Tone. Your body, your life, love it. drboness.com.
Hi, I'm Willa Voss. I'm 8 years old. Mom and Dad own Cut and Go Tree Service. Yes, they did name me after a tree. Our family loves this country and the freedom it provides. Every morning, I look forward to starting the school day with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please say it along with me, even if you just say it in your mind. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm American patriots will enjoy a 5% discount for flying the American flag and mentioning this commercial when the cut-and-go remote control, automobile-mounted, articulated crane, grapple saw operators are putting your dead trees on the ground or removing large branches that grew over something important. An all-American, tons of trees movement, cutandgotrees.com. That's CUTNGOTREES.com.
Join News Talk 1130 this Saturday at 4 p.m. for The Word on Medicine, the show that brings you the latest medical innovations and discoveries by physicians and scientists at the Medical College of Wisconsin. That's Saturday afternoon at 4 on News Talk 1130, WISN.
107,471. Is that A, the number of minutes spent listening to your kids describe their favorite YouTuber's latest video? B, the combined number of calories you consume during football season? Or C, the number of households left without power during one of the last big winter storms? While A and B may be true, the real answer is C. But this winter, that 6-digit number can be reduced by 1 with your brand new whole house Generac generator from Mr. Holland's Home Services. We hardwire your new generator directly into your home's electrical system. Lights stay glowing, Wi-Fi goes on flowing, and your furnace keeps it going. All thanks to your new whole house Generac generator from Mr. Holland's Home Services. Oh, did I mention payments for as low as $99 a month? Call 866-992-1717 or visit MrHollandsHomeservices.com. Ready to power through another winter? We can help.
I'm defense attorney Tom Grieve. If you drive drunk, you will be pulled over and you will be arrested. You cannot talk your way out of a DUI, but you can keep your mouth shut for your best defense. Call my team of award-winning former state prosecutors. You are only guilty if you are convicted. GrieveLaw.com.
MKG Transport moves materials, parts, pieces, assemblies, moved locally same day, next day, and if needed, keep processes moving, moved back same or next day. Our drive, manufacturing movement, MKGtransport.com.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Statewide.
Coal Investment Group is a registered investment advisor. Call 262-522-4040.
News about you and your money. The business report from the Coal Investment Group.
Good afternoon. This is Certified Financial Planner Chauncey Weisensell with your afternoon business report. The major averages moved lower in a choppy first trading day of 2025. The move comes after a solid 2024 for the markets ended on a sour note with the S&P 500 up 23% for the year, but ending the year with 4 straight down days for the first time since 1966. Meanwhile, shares of top Callaway brands jumped 12% intraday following an upgrade from Jeffers to a buy from a hold and raised its target price at $13. The firm thinks the golf company offers strong value as it prepares to spin off its top golf business. At the close, the Dow was down 152 points to 42,392. The S&P 500 was down 13 and the NASDAQ was down 30. The new year is a perfect time to meet with one of our fiduciary advisors to review your financial plan. To get started, visit thecoalway.com or call 262-522-4040.
As promised, I have in the studio here with me Program Director Jerry Bott. We've got Dan O'Donnell in the studio, Ben Yount in the studio, and Vicki McKenna, because there's a major announcement we've been teasing for 2 days.
When Mr. Belling decided to take his program and make it podcast only, obviously that means that we're going to have to make some adjustments.
The next generation is here.
In Afternoon Drive, it will be the Dan O'Donnell Show from 3 to 6.
Welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Coming up later this hour, there is still a vestige of the Mark Belling Late Afternoon Show, Mark's football picking contest. Mike Merlette will join us. We will hear from an audience contestant who won his game last week. Paul makes his pick. Mark has emailed us his pick. And in fact, Mark and I were talking over the break, and he is periodically going to pop up to offer his insight when he thinks it's appropriate. Election night coverage, I think he's certainly going to be a part of, as we have an election coming up in April. I know nobody wants to think about that, but we do. We'll get into it before we get into the football picking contest, probably at about 5:35 for your planning purposes. But yeah, when Mark has a story to break, because he still gets tips, he is still going to be breaking stories. I said the invitation is always there. The show is always here. I sort of see it as Brett Baer and Britt Hume. Britt Hume is like the #1 contributor to Bret Baier's newscast. And in fact, big shout out to my dad, who we think is sacrificing watching the Bret Baier Fox newscast right now to listen to his son. And if he's not, well, then you're never going to see the grandkids again. No, he said, as only he can. He said, now, Daniel, what about those of us who have to choose between you and Bret Baier? I said, well, there's really no comparison. And he goes, I'm like, well, what about the other Fox News shows? Cavuto retired, right? There's no more Neil Cavuto at 3. I said, well, what about the 5? That's like the highest rated show on Fox. I don't like the 5. I only like, the man likes himself some Bret Baier. But I liken it to Belling as like the Britt Hume. He does his podcast, and periodically you will hear him weighing in, particularly on issues of local and state importance. And there is no issue bigger. Coming up in the first quarter of this year, believe it or not, we're already in that cycle. It's the election for state Supreme Court. I know, we just got done with a presidential election cycle. And I know, just 2 years ago, we had the single most expensive state Supreme Court race, or any judicial race, not just in the history of Wisconsin, but in the history of this country. When liberals controlled the court, they took control for the first time in about 15 years. Janet Protasewicz won a seat over Dan Kelly, who mercifully is not running again this time. It is Brad Schimmel, the former attorney general, current Waukesha County Circuit Court judge, who's going to be running against, it looks like, Susan Crawford, a very liberal Dane County Circuit Court judge. And really, is there any other type of judge in Dane County than a liberal one? The field has clearly been cleared for Schimmel, and I believe liberals, Crawford was one of the candidates that they really, really wanted to run. It's interesting, the evolution of judicial elections here in Wisconsin. The left for years ran away from the branding of their ideology as progressive, as liberal. The worst thing you could be when you ran for state Supreme Court was a soft on crime leftist. It crushed Louis Butler. Remember Loophole Louis, who used a loophole to get a guy released? Remember that? Killed him. Mike Gableman won because Louis Butler was perceived to be a soft-on-crime leftist. The last 3 judges elected to the state Supreme Court, Protasewicz, Rebecca Dallett, and Jill Karofsky, were open leftists. In fact, Protasewicz was so open about what she would do on the court that she clearly violated the Code of Judicial Conduct. Of course, the Board of Bar Examiners, which investigates code violations and that thing, I believe it's the Board of Bar Examiners, whoever it is, whatever agency is tasked with investigating violations of the Code of Conduct, found very quietly after the election that no, she didn't actually violate the Code of Conduct. She said exactly how she would rule on cases that very obviously were going to come before the state Supreme Court. You can't do that because you lose your objectivity. When, of course, she got on the court, immediately the court's new liberal majority staged a coup against Annette Ziegler, who's the Supreme Court's Chief Justice. They usurped from her the court's scheduling authority, meaning the Chief Justice has the power to say, okay, we're taking this case. And they also fired the director of state courts to install their own hand-picked political ally. They have essentially presided over the court as a super legislature. They have replaced the rule of law with their own political preferences. Most notably, the day before Christmas break 2023. Just hours, I mean hours, after Protasewicz was first sworn in as a Supreme Court justice in August of 23, liberal groups filed yet another challenge to the state's legislative maps. Now, Protasewicz spent the entire campaign saying, this is my excuse me, quick impression of Janet Protasewicz. It's very accurate, and it is not at all just Gladys Kravitz from Bewitched. This is Janet Protasewicz on the campaign trail. You ready? The maps are rigged. They're rigged. We got to do something about the maps, Abner. She said it over and over and over again. She was telling anybody who would listen exactly how she would rule on a redistricting case. And guess what? The court, right before Christmas, found that the maps were rigged and threw them out. They used the most bogus logic you could imagine. They pretended that small, usually uninhabited areas of a city that were not in the city's geographical boundaries. For example, I think Jones Island would be considered, it's part of Milwaukee, right? But it's not within the geographical boundary of Milwaukee, which ends before the Little Island. It's a municipal island. Because the maps contained municipal islands, usually they are garbage dumps or something. It's owned by the city of Milwaukee, but it's outside of the city. They're known as municipal islands. Because the maps contained them, the court's liberal majority ruled that the maps are unconstitutional and needed to be thrown out. You know the problem with that logic? Every map that had been approved for 6 decades included municipal islands, including the maps drawn by Tony Evers that 3 of the 4 liberals who were on the court at the time, Karofsky, Dallatt, and Ann Walsh Bradley, who's retiring, creating the vacancy right now, approved. They all signed off on those maps that created municipal islands, but then the issue comes up. They've got the majority. Oh, municipal islands are bad. The maps need to be thrown out. And the Republican legislature was essentially forced to sign Evers' maps to go along with them because the court's maps would have been undoubtedly worse. What was another thing that Protasewicz kept saying on the campaign trail? That a woman has a fundamental right to choose. If you'll notice, libs don't even say right to choose anymore. They say women's health, as though the only thing a woman needs to be healthy is to have an abortion every couple of years. You know what they say? It's that old saying, an abortion a day keeps the doctor away. Women's health. What? It's not healthy for the female fetus inside. It's, you know, it's not baby health, but it's women's health. This was the most important thing in the world. Would you believe that they had this case for about 1.5 years? They only had oral arguments on it after the presidential election. Why would they drag their feet on this? Because they didn't want to lose that as a wedge issue in a critical swing state. If abortion was really the big issue of our day, it was the civil rights issue of our day, and the court finally had something, they could do something about it, they would have fast-tracked that case just like they fast-tracked the challenge to the maps, which they knew they needed to get a ruling on before the 2024 election, but they didn't. They waited deliberately until after the 2024 election so that it wouldn't affect Kamala's chances of winning a critical swing state. They're doing the exact same thing, by the way, with Act 10. I would not expect a ruling on either Act 10's constitutionality, and oh, by the way, Act 10 was given a full okay by both state and federal courts a decade plus ago. It's suddenly been challenged again. I wouldn't expect a ruling on it until after the April election. Why? Because they don't want it to impact Susan Crawford's chances of holding on to the majority. And this is a critical election. Not only can conservatives retake the majority, this is going to be their first chance to do so until 2028. I believe that's when Rebecca Dallatt comes up for election. There can only be one Supreme Court justice on the ballot at a time. That means, and those, because they are nonpartisan positions, they have to be in the spring. You can't put someone on a partisan election, i.e. a November election, if it's a nonpartisan race. So you've got 2018, it's Rebecca Dallett, I believe, 2028, Rebecca Dallett is up. 2029, I think alleged conservative Justice Brian Hagedorn is up for re-election. 2030, you would have Jill Karofsky, and then 2033, it would be, well, no, you know what? Ziegler's in there. You know what? I don't fully remember. But the first chance is not for a couple. My point is that liberals would have control of the Supreme Court for another couple of years. The only thing that is saving Wisconsin from just totally sliding back into the bad old days of Diamond Jim Doyle is the fact that this court is rather remarkably lazy. They have had the lightest caseload of any Supreme Court, I think, going back decades. The reason for this is, I believe, they don't want controversial issues decided until after they're not going to harm Democrats politically or one of their own members politically. Now, as I said, Ann Walsh Bradley is not seeking another 10-year term. This is a golden opportunity for a pickup. And I believe Schimmel is a very, very good candidate. For one, he's not going to fall into that trap that Dan Kelly did in not just one, but two consecutive races that he ran and ran very poorly. He's a wonderful jurist. I've talked to the man many times. He's brilliant. He is, honest to goodness, a brilliant jurist. He was a terrible campaigner because he didn't want to sully himself with politics. Janet Protasewicz had no such compunction. She would tell her base exactly how she would rule. Now, I'm not going to tell Brad Schimmel to violate the Code of Judicial Conduct like Janet did, because that would be hypocritical. But Schimmel, I think, understands from his campaigns as Attorney General that this is a knockdown, drag-out street fight. Protasewicz and her backers outspent Kelly and his backers by about a 5-to-1 margin, possibly even more than that. I believe they spent something like $50 million. All of that is just going to take you out unless you fight back. And unless conservatives right now band together, promise to do exactly what we did to get Donald Trump elected and very nearly get Eric Hovde elected. Yes, I am still furious at the utter buffoon Thomas Leaguer, who ran as an independent conservative candidate and got the exact amount of votes that separated Hovde from Tammy Baldwin, literally costing Hovde a Senate seat. We need to get out, get involved, get active, and get on the phone to donors who need to be able to fight one-to-one. One of the big reasons, and something nobody wants to talk about, one of the big reasons that Trump won and one of the big reasons that he did so well in the swing states is towards the end, buoyed in large part because of Elon Musk's America PAC and all of its spending, he was going one for one, dollar for dollar with Kamala Harris, if not outspending her in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and other states. North Carolina was turned out to be a pretty critical one because it was key to Trump's strategy of wrapping the thing up early, which he did. In order for a conservative candidate to even have a prayer in an election like this, I believe you need to not just go one for one. You might need to outspend the liberal. That's a tall order. But it is possible that because of what I have perceived to be a major vibe shift in this country, where big business, where wealthy individual, where people just like you and me are unafraid to show our support for Trump, to speak out in favor of conservative causes, to speak common sense in a uniquely crazy world, that I think it is eminently possible. Something happened today in Madison that, honest to goodness, shocked me a little bit. We'll get into that when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns.
It's time for Rapid Traffic.
Eastbound 894, a little better now, just slow from Forest Home over to 68th. Eastbound on 94, you're stopping and going from the Zoo to 27th. You got a stall blocking the left shoulder at 68th as well. If you see any issues, you can call the Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Total traffic tip line at 414-944-5111. I'm Kevin Henry.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off, free UPS shipping, and add code RADIO for an extra 5% off.
The following takes place in a Capital Heating and Cooling truck.
Step on the gas, Seth. Roger that, Captain. We need to get Miss Johnson's furnace repaired fast. She couldn't believe we do same-day repairs, or that Capital works 7 days a week. It's Sunday, and we'll have her heat back on today.
It's the right thing to do.
Same-day repair. 7 days a week. Same-day repair. 7 days a week.
Capital One, do you read me?
Loud and clear, Laura.
You guys almost to Miss Johnson's house? We need to get her furnace repaired fast.
Be there in T-minus 3 minutes.
Step on the gas, Seth.
I already stepped on it. I already told him.
Roger that.
We'll contact you when the Eagle lands. Capital One, out. Same-day repair. 7 days a week. Same-day repair. 7 days a week.
Capital Heating and Cooling can repair your furnace same day, 7 days a week. Schedule online at callcapitalcares.com.
This change has leveled us up while being able to maintain the same quality of service that we've always provided, with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission. We're proud to be part of the Century 21 family, so you can move fearlessly with the added confidence of top-of-the-line marketing for maximum home exposure. And that means more eyeballs and the real potential for the highest price for your home. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. First off, our 1.9% commission structure helps get their foot in the door, and that's why agents like working here. But what they really like is having the strongest marketing tools available, with the resources to help them sell homes at the highest prices to satisfy their clients. Century 21 Benefit Realty offers what agents like most, and that's to help them be successful. If you really want to believe in the business model that you're representing, give me a call. I'm Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty. Call me, and let's talk about your future. Each office is independently owned and operated.
I'm defense attorney Tom Grieve. Never drive drunk. If arrested for DUI, say nothing. Remember, anything that you say can and will be used against you in court. Even if a friendly arresting officer tells you otherwise, a first-time DUI is a big deal. A first-time drunk driving conviction stays on your record for life, can impact career opportunities far down the road, and even limit your ability to rent a car or travel abroad. Call my award-winning team of former state prosecutors for help. You are only guilty if you are convicted. GrieveLaw.com. That's GrieveLaw.com.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent are required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text SPARK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 42424. That's SPARK to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. There used to be a day when the national news media prided itself on getting the story right. Those days are gone. Now, it's slanted stories, unnamed sources, and fake news. The goal no longer is to inform you. The goal is to indoctrinate you. Here at News Talk 1130 WISN, our show hosts will give you straightforward information and honest analysis. That is our commitment, and that is our daily mission. News Talk 1130 WISN. Real life, real news, real good.
Show summaries,
podcasts,
political tidbits,
and the hottest photo galleries in radio. All available to you whenever you demand them at newstalk1130.com.
We got it all.
At the risk of bragging, we do have it all here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Now heard weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. Yes, to answer your question, I will be on tomorrow. We do want to thank the rotating crew of hosts. It was sort of like The View, only dudes and not crazy, for 5 years, if you can believe that. On Fridays, hosting the Friday afternoon show for a couple of years in there. I was one of them. Dave Michaels, Jerry Bott, Kevin Nicholson, Ben Yount, who can now be heard weekdays on WISN, would all fill in. Well, not fill in, but they would share hosting the Friday afternoon show. Unfortunately, I'm not nearly as skilled a negotiator as I need to be. I was not able to get Fridays off in my contract. So Monday through Friday, Dan O'Donnell Show. For those asking, just a couple of quick points. Yes, there is a way you can listen to my show after it's done. We are still going to be doing a podcast, just like always. Paul, it's probably going to be posted, 6:15 at the latest, I would say, 6:15, 6:30. No, we are not going until 6:30, 6:45. Because we are on multiple stations, we do have to end by 6 o'clock. You will hear the Sean Hannity Show in its entirety on both WISN and WIBA. What was another question that I got? Well, I think we answered. Is the bumper music going to be the same? Yes. Is the theme song going to be the same? Yes. Wayne Larrivee for 5 more weeks. We are going to be talking to him every Friday. And yes, we are going to be continuing with the Mark Belling football preview and picking contest coming up in about 10 minutes right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. The Wisconsin Elections Commission did something that it's never done before. Now, it's only been around for 8 years, but still, it's using its investigative authority to understand how nearly 200 absentee ballots in Madison weren't counted. 193 ballots just were not counted. Now, this did not impact any race. There was no race that was decided by 193 votes or less, but still, it seems odd that you had that many votes that just weren't counted. Ann Jacobs telling the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, she is the Democrat appointee and current chair of the commission, we are the final canvas. We are the final arbiters of the votes in the state of Wisconsin. The integrity of the election process is important, and we needed to know and understand this. Jacobs asked WEC staff if the commission has the power to open an investigation, and staff concluded the commission does have that authority. All 6 commissioners voted to authorize the investigation. Jacobs said the commissioners would come up with a list of questions for Madison City Clerk Mary Beth Witzel-Bale. Those could include when the absentee ballots arrived and were sorted, who discovered them, whether the city intends to open the uncounted ballots, that sort of thing. Now, this is the front page story, jsonline.com, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's website. The gray lady, if you will, of Wisconsin, the newspaper of record. Isn't there an obvious question that should sort of be asked? If WEC could open an investigation into the 2024 election in Wisconsin, why did it refuse to do so in 2020 when there were far more irregularities and open violations of state law? From a representative with Mark Zuckerberg's group essentially running the election in Green Bay to what I uncovered in my own investigation, nursing home staff members rather obviously voting on behalf of nursing home residents who couldn't possibly vote on their own. That actually led to a Racine County Sheriff's Office this investigation. Didn't lead to criminal charges, but there was a law enforcement investigation. WEC said over and over and over again, how about this one? How about this one? We actually asked WEC, do you remember fraud in the park? It was called Democracy in the Park 2020. City of Madison, exact same city, the exact same city, just decided that it was going to allow people to show up in parks and drop off absentee ballots with dudes sitting on picnic tables with duffel bags that the ballots would be put into. Blatantly illegal. This totally violates the chain of custody of ballots. And I actually asked WEC, hey, are you guys going to investigate this? Because it sure seems like this is something that should be investigated. Do you know the answer we got? Honest to goodness, do you know the answer? Well, WEC doesn't investigate things like this. Oh, really? Because they're sure concerned about 193 ballots that weren't counted. They couldn't care less about all of the thousands of extra ballots that showed up during fraud in the park, knowing full well that 95% of them were going to be for the Democrat. But 193 ballots don't get counted, and all of a sudden, WEC finally decides, oh yes, we really need to get to the bottom of this one. Coming up next, it is the Mark Belling football preview and picking contest right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
From the Lynch Chevrolet of Kenosha Total Traffic Center, 94 eastbound at 70th. You got a crash on the right shoulder. It's slowing you back to the zoo. Moreland to the Marquette takes 18 minutes. Northbound 4312 up to Brown Deer Road. If you see any issues, call the Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111. I'm Kevin Henry.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
This week on Red Pilled America, Christmas is magical, but for some it's stressful. How can we lower the stress of Christmas? To find the answer, we tell the story of a Christmas tree heist. Listen to Red Pilled America on the iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America, a storytelling show.
I'm Victor Harding, a true trial attorney at Warshevsky Law. You've heard our advertising for years. While it's been effective introducing Warshevsky to injured people in need of maximum judgments and settlements, most of our clients come from personal referral. Referrals from former clients grateful for the settlement or trial judgment Warshevsky won on their behalf. Thus, they're recommending us to friends and family. Referrals from people in the community, including other lawyers and judges who want to make sure their friends and family are taken care of. Still not sure? Ask around. Warshevsky is referred by Wisconsin law enforcement officers who've seen Warshevsky attorneys in action, desperate to make sure friends and family receive just compensation. Insurance adjusters, often our adversaries, refer their family members hurt in accidents. They know the work we do. They all refer Warshevsky because, big case or small, we can help. If someone you love is injured, please let them know, because at the end of their ordeal, their injury is about the money. Warshevsky.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. I've been a big proponent of Lynch for a while now. Here's why. They're literally a family dealership and have been since 1957. That's increasingly rare in the dealership world today, but the Lynch family employs 500 plus people who are all dedicated to taking care of you. They've got a wide selection of new and used vehicles, extended service department hours for early drop-offs and late pickups, and most importantly, they're proud supporters of our local communities and schools. They also stand behind what they sell with Lynch-certified used vehicles, including a 168-point inspection to determine eligibility, an unparalleled 90-day or 3,000-mile certified guarantee, and a 10-day 500-mile exchange policy. And when you pair this with the Lynch Protected program, they cover your paint, your windshield, and your tires. It's easy to see why you should consider Lynch. Check them out today at shoplynch.com.
I'm Dave Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring. Realtor.com says depending on location and a few other factors, new hardwood floors add as much as 2.5% to home sale value, even if you plan to sell. Enjoy home more now while increasing your sale price with Flawless's LVP, hardwood, or amazing realistic, super wear-resistant modern laminate plank. Steamy wet dog and litter box aromas bother homeowners and buyers. But you say, Dave, We want the sound deadening and warmth underfoot of carpet? Our Delafield and New Berlin showrooms have countless style and combination flooring choices, including quality luxury carpet lines. Steamy stains and carpet stink, including pet fluids, wipe-off flawless floorings, luxury vinyl plank, and modern laminate plank, zero steam effortlessly. Our employee-only craftsmen meticulously refinish existing hardwood, even perfectly blending additional hardwood with existing. With Flawless's nothing down, zero interest financing, upgrade today and pay over 21 months. Sensory underload, Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
I'm Kelly Lammert, owner of Clean Living Environments.
I'm Grave Genius. Since building 2 rooms farthest from the furnace barely had air coming from registers, and 18 years of crud accumulated in ducts.
Our superior agitation, high-powered suction cleaning systems got more ladybugs, dust, even original construction debris out of Steve's ducts than suction alone could.
Clean Living Environments AeroSeal duct sealing got more wasted energy off our energy bill as natural gas costs skyrocket.
Duct specialists block the vents and pressurized ducts, exposing leakage equivalent to a 90 square inch hole. After sealing, leakage is reduced to a 3-inch hole, a 94% reduction.
Our home has noticeably less dust. Air isn't getting sucked in through the basement and attic exposed duct pipe. Most incredibly, we get more air to rooms farthest from the furnace. Way more. See a video of this job at cleanlivingenvironments.com.
I personally guarantee the best price.
Yep.
Get more out of your ducts, cleanlivingenvironments.com. That's cleanlivingenvironments.com.
Divergent family law will work with both parties of a divorce to an agreed-upon final assignment of assets and custody. Prefer or have no choice but fight for every and any advantage through divorce? Divergent's attorneys do that too. Divergent family law, separate and equal, or better. divergentfamilylaw.com.
Offering one of the strongest lineups of talk show hosts in the history of local radio. This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130. WISN.
This is House Call for Health. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force recently releasing preliminary recommendations that women over age 30 should have the option to take their own samples for cervical cancer screenings. These guidelines are aimed at increasing the amount of women who get an HPV test. And with the recommendation of self-collection, some doctors are hoping it will help prevent cervical cancer. Most diagnoses of this type of cancer are found in women who are not screened, diagnosed, or treated properly. HPV tests are currently only done in a healthcare setting, but at-home testing could be on the horizon. The task force posted their guidelines on their website through January 13th for public comment. After that, the final recommendations will be worked on and released at a later date. The guidelines can be found online at uspreventivservicestaskforce.org. Or for more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Time now for the Mark Belling football preview and picking contest presented by Holiday Automotive of Fond du Lac. Hundreds of new and pre-owned vehicles, all in one location. Holiday Automotive, it's worth the trip. Joining us now from American sports analysts, ASAwins.com, Mike Merlette. Mike, great to talk to you again, my friend.
Yeah, nice to talk to you again, Dan. It's been a yearish since we've talked, but I'm glad we're back on together.
About a year, and it's been quite a year for the Green Bay Packers. This was a team that came in with lofty expectations. It was a slow start. Obviously, Jordan Love getting hurt contributed to that, but this team has really seemed to catch fire, and the loss to the Vikings notwithstanding, I think we sort of know where they are. They are a very good team, but they're clearly a team that is a step below the 3 best in the NFC, all of which they've lost to this year: Detroit, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. They wrap up the season against the Chicago Bears, and realistically, is there anything to play for seeding? I mean, I'm hearing nobody wants to play the LA Rams. I would not want to play the Philadelphia Eagles. I would not want to play whatever team is the number 2 seed between Detroit and Minnesota, who will play for that bye this weekend. What's your sense? Do they sit everybody? Is this a game that they try to win? What happens?
Yeah, I would think they definitely seeding purposes, I think you want to win this game because right now the Packers sit in the 7th seed. If they win this game, they can move up to the 6th. Washington has to lose. If Washington beats Dallas, Washington gets a 6th seed, Green Bay gets a 7th seed. So Green Bay would have to go to Philadelphia, and I would much rather go to L.A. than Philadelphia.
Even though L.A. seems like one of the hottest teams in football right now.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia is one of the top few teams in the NFL, period. So I would not want to play Philadelphia in the first round. I'd rather play the Rams. And I think with them coming off a loss last week, you don't want to go in off another loss. I think they'll play their starters. Do they play them the whole game? Who knows? Do they play in the first half? I think the first half for sure. And then this game will come down to, say you're in the second half, and I don't know if coaches do this and players do this. Say in the second half and Washington's screaming Dallas in the fourth quarter. At that point, it probably makes sense to pull some guys and get some rest and make sure no one gets hurt. But I think the first half, Green Bay will play hard and play to win this game against a Chicago team that's lost 10 in a row and just can't score right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. They're playing a team that is just bad. I mean, for the last 10 weeks, they have been, I think, the worst team in football. It is hard to believe. This team started 4-2. Do you remember back in, mid-October? We were saying, man, the NFC North, they're fantastic. They're just blowing teams out. Every team is above 500. The Bears are 14. I said, they lost 10 straight. Do you think they're regretting, because Jaden Daniels led the Commanders to the playoffs? They can get a better seed. Do you think there's any regret taking Caleb Williams over Daniels? Because Daniels looks like a revelation.
Yeah, I would guess so. And that's the hindsight stuff. Williams was going to be the number one pick. It sounded like no matter who got the number one pick, he was just kind of the best quarterback coming out of college. Daniels had played at Arizona State and was okay, and then he got to LSU and he had NFL receivers, one of the best offensive lines, and looked great. So who knew he was gonna play like this in his first year? But just the Bears' offense with Williams at the helm. I mean, they're dead last in total offense. They're dead last in yards per play offense. And over the last 10 games, Dan, they've had 104 offensive possessions and scored 15 touchdowns in 104 possessions. So that's horrible.
Basically, you're telling me take the under. Although the Bears defense sucks too, so their opponent can clear the over just by itself. There is something to be said for this. Do you, as a handicapper, do you dread the last week of the NFL season? I was just thinking about, is it like practically impossible to bet the final week of the NFL season? This would be like, if I'm a bettor, this is going to be my bye week. I'm just like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to bet the college football playoff.
Yeah, it can be really tough because you've got teams locked into spots that are going to rest guys. You've got teams that are still playing for spots. You've got teams that have nothing to play for, but some of them are still playing hard. Some of them aren't. The lines are already adjusted for all that. So you got Kansas City, just for an example, locked into the number one seed, 10.5-point underdog against Denver in a game they'd be absolutely favored by 3 or 4 points. That's a 2-touchdown swing. So we have to weigh, has it gone too much in that situation? It can be really tough. And then you've got games, Dan, where teams playing on Saturday, like if Baltimore wins on Saturday, then if Pittsburgh wins on Saturday, then the LA Chargers have nothing to play for on Sunday. But Harbaugh is the type of guy, kind of like Dan Campbell, that might just play all his guys anyway. It makes it really difficult this last week in the NFL. There aren't a lot of games to pick from because a lot of them are tough to handicap.
One that I think everybody on the field is going to be playing to win. Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions taking on and hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Winner of that game gets the number one seed, gets the only bye in the NFC playoffs, gets home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. A whole lot on the line. No real surprise that game got moved to Sunday Night Football. Lions are favored by 3. That probably makes sense on a neutral field. These teams just feel like they're even. Minnesota, though, has been sort of squeaking by, whereas Detroit has just been blowing out teams. I was up in Green Bay for the Lions-Packers game, and that game was far more it was not nearly as close as the score suggested. The Lions dominated that one. The Packers are a very good team. They have just been blowing out good teams. They've looked for much of the season like the best team in the NFL, but Minnesota just has not gone away.
Yeah, no, this game's for it all. I mean, the team that wins, as you said, is the number 1 seed, and the team that loses is the 5 seed. So the team that loses this game is going to be in the wild card round. It's going to be the first ever 14-win team that has to play in the wild card round.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, yeah, and unfortunately, same division and nothing to do about it. In the first game, Detroit won 31-29 in Minnesota on a field goal with 15 seconds to go. So it was right down to the wire. Minnesota's won 9 in a row, but as you said, most of them are close. 6 of those have come by 1 score. And the Vikings right now are 9-1 in 1-score games, and that's why they're sitting where they are right now. Detroit had a ton of injuries on defense. They're getting some of those guys back now, so they're getting a little better defensively. I agree with you. This is right where we thought the line would be. It's a toss-up on a neutral field, and Lions get 3 points for home, so it's about right where we thought it would be.
This is the Mark Belling football preview and picking contest on the Dan O'Donnell Show. When we come back, it will be, well, the picking contest portion of this. Stay tuned. You are listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. We'll get our listener contestant Jim going for 4 wins in a row.
Eastbound on 94, stopping and going from 84th over to 27th. Now you got a crash off to the right shoulder near 70th. Southbound on 894, a little slow from National to Oklahoma. If you see any issues, call the Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank total traffic tip line at 414-944-5111. I'm Kevin Henry.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Business owners can now keep in touch with up to 200 staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping.
I thought you were on vacation.
I am.
At Penny Mustard?
Specifically, the Miles sofa at Penny Mustard.
It is super comfy.
That's an understatement.
Built just the way you want it.
Sounds nice.
So you're really vacationing on the Miles sofa?
I'll send you a postcard. Wish you were here. P.S. Miles says hi.
The Miles Sectional, starting at just $238 a month, with only 1 penny down and no interest till January of 2028 through January 5th at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at mandercollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368. Patrick and Monica initially chose a bank to get pre-approved and provide financing for the purchase of their first home. But they were getting a bad feeling when a week after their offer was accepted, the bank still hadn't locked in their rate, nor had the appraisal been ordered. Monica shared her concerns with a friend who happened to be a multi-time Accunet client. That led to Monica connecting with one of our senior loan consultants the same day, and after gathering some information and reviewing options, we locked in their rate right then and there with loan costs $3,600 lower than what the bank had quoted. The appraisal was ordered right away too, and the loan closed on time just 3 weeks later. We also noticed an oversight in the contract that led to a $3,000 credit from the seller. You can get a generic pre-approval and average or worse service from a bank, or you can get the kind of fast service, advice, attention to detail, and savings that made Monica and Patrick Accunet's latest raving fans. All you got to do to get started is click on the blue button at Accunet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
Hospitalized medicine has a lifelong prescription for every symptom, and each prescription causes more symptoms. Total Health works to restore health so you don't need their pills or treatment. It's not theory. Relativity equals expertise plus execution. TotalHealthInc.com.
So how do you underpromise and still get the job? We believe in our hearts we're going to do great work for you. We're just really careful about making unrealistic promises. At Semper we refuse to set the bar higher than we can jump. But be assured, that's the goal. To do all we can to jump as high as possible to try to exceed your expectations. We're looking to break records. That's how you win over customers, get really great referrals, and build a great business. When you're making a decision to hire an exterior remodeling company, character, integrity, and the feeling that the people you're about to hire are truly eager to show you how good they are should stand at the top of your list. This is Brad Youngluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
Take a pause.
You heard about the cat in Washington State that died of bird flu, and the virus was found in the cat's raw food?
The American Veterinary Medical Association does not believe that anybody, pets or humans, should be eating food that is not processed by heat.
That's Dr. Michael Bailey of the AVMA.
Whether it's milk that is pasteurized, we strongly recommend pasteurized milk, or the meat that is heat processed, we strongly recommend it.
The cat food involved Northwest Naturals feline turkey recipes been recalled, but pets can also pick up the virus outdoors.
Most likely place that our pets, particularly cats, are going to be exposed to this virus are from wild birds. So that means birds that are alive or even dead carcasses that they may run across.
Bailey says keep an eye on pets when they're outside and away from birds. There's no vaccine for bird flu. Take a pause. Jill Nato, Fox News.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Wisconsin. This is sportsmanship. School sports, it's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
This is the Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, presented by Holiday Automotive of Fond du Lac. Time now to make some picks as we start with Paul. Paul, what game are you looking at? Let me guess. Wait. I've listened to this enough. I've hosted it enough. The Packers and the Chicago Bears. That's the game you're looking at. That was going to be your game. Mike, do I know this guy or what? Mike Merlette joining. He always takes the Packers. This is why you never bet on the team that you root for, because you can't objectively analyze them. All right. Packers and the Chicago Bears. Oh, you're not taking them. That's who you were looking at, though. Okay. I was going to say the other one is going to be the Lions and the Vikings that I guarantee you're going to be taking a look at. That one is a 2.5-point spread. Lions are 2.5-point favorites. We are using NFL scores and odds, scoresandodds.com for our lines. I was looking at ESPN's line. I think they probably use Caesars. I'm not actually sure. Lions favored by 2.5. You are taking the Detroit Lions, playing at home, favored by 2.5. All right, not bad. We are going now to our listener, Jim in West Dallas. He is going for 4 in a row. He has won 3 $100 gift cards, going for 4th. Jim, your pick, sir.
What's the line on the Washington-Dallas game?
The Washington-Dallas game. You see, this is a guy that knows. How long have you been thinking about what game you were going to pick, Jim? You've actually got something to play for here. Paul, he takes the Packers every week because nobody even hears his voice. We don't even know if there is a Paul back there making picks. You have got the Commanders on the road, favored by 6.
And what about the Giants and Philly?
The Giants and Philly. You know, you're really killing a guy who can't really see all that well. You know what, Paul? This is kind of odd, but the sheet you gave me cut off. Mike, you got the line on that one?
Sure, I can give you the line. Giants,
it wouldn't be an afternoon drive show on WISN without the printer screwing up. All right, what was it?
It was Philadelphia's Favored by 3 pretty much everywhere.
Philadelphia favored by 3. All right, we'll go with the 3-point line for your purposes. Jim, what do you like?
I'm actually liking Philly over New York by 3.
All right, Jim's taking Philly over New York by 3. Best of luck to you, Jim. We'll see if we have you back on next week. Mike, how about you?
I'm going to look at a college bowl game possibly for tomorrow, depending on what you have on that line. The Mayo Bowl tomorrow between Virginia Tech and Minnesota. What do you have on that game?
I have absolutely no idea. What do you have for a line? Yeah, what number
depends. You got? It's kind of split all over the place. I was wondering what you have. It's either 8.5 or 9. It's kind of split everywhere.
There are so many damn bowl games.
Number 279, 280.
279, 280. That's what I was waiting for. We have got 8.5 point. Wait, 279, 280. Minnesota favored by 8.5.
Okay, I'm going to take Minnesota in that game.
Mike takes Minnesota. We have got the Belling pick, and Mark says he had an easy win on a low-profile game. UConn won straight up. He's taking Cincinnati to beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. Bengals are one of the best 8-8 teams ever. They've won 4 in a row, and all but one of their 8 losses was by 1 TD or less. Pittsburgh will lose its chance to win the division if the Ravens win earlier Saturday afternoon, likely meaning the Steelers will have nothing to play for and may rest starters in preparation for a road playoff game next week. So Mark takes Cincinnati. Mike, thank you so much. We will have you back on next Thursday, the Mark Belling football preview and picking contest presented by Holiday Automotive. It is worth the trip. Well, that's pretty much it, folks, for the first edition of the Afternoon Drive Dan O'Donnell Show. We are going to be back tomorrow with a special guest. The chairman of the Republican National Committee, Michael Whatley, will join us at 3:30. And then How Bizarre, weekly look back at the strangest stories of the past 7 days, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Thank you so much for listening, folks. Talk to you tomorrow.
When weather and traffic